myself. Haha. I should have checked that when I started.
You're gonna have to introduce yourself again, Collusion.
Yay! No,
Oh, well.
no. If you want to introduce it, if you want my introduction, just go back to the last one, or the one before it, or the one before that, or whatever. Bloody microphone. God damn it.
So you had your microphone muted all the time. Rookie mistake there, buddy.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Mistake.
I haven't hit the 200 sub thing yet, so I don't think I even have 20 for that matter.
Alright, well, you need to work on that.
Yeah, I need to hurry up and become professional.
I don't want to be too harsh, because I've had a long day, but you should introduce yourself, so that way we can get this over with.
Right, I'm Collusion. I'm a Kiwi. I talk shit, and when people talk shit back to me, I ban them for talking shit because it breaks War Thunder rules. And I'm also
do it.
I'm also a moderation pleb for Flight Alien and a whole bunch of other stuff, but you know. That's
Ash needs no introduction. Ah, isn't that cute?
Everybody knows Ash.
I'm a dinosaur in the War Thunder community. That's what I am.
Oh.
Yeah,
If my opinion actually means something, there's something wrong.
Know about a dinosaur, but you know.
You could be a wise old sage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so I know Spitz kind of covered this already, but who inspired you in the War Thunder community, if you were inspired to do War Thunder content creation?
Hello, Spit.
Yes.
Anyone good, or shall I start?
I mean, you know, Spitz already covered that, you know, his inspiration was the
I've
Orange
sort of
Dude.
covered it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly.
I originally found Fly's channel back when Baron was about twice his size, and started making videos because I found his channel after he made a video on the game Space Engineers.
Okay.
Which is like a voxel building game, and I discovered his channel, and I ended up in War Thunder. Basically, that's the long and short of it. I ended up here. That's there's not really much more I could say other than that. I just picked it up.
It is kind of a long story of how I got.
Oh, it's okay. We got. Well, I have plenty of time. I don't know how much time you have.
You want the short, the long, the in between?
Can we get the long, then the short, then the in between?
What was the question again? I've forgotten.
Ash,
I've had a long day. All right.
Ash is the OG marionette, you know, puppet strings puller from behind the scenes for like half the content creators around.
That is true. Yeah, I do a lot of moderation work for other content creators. How did I start? Ooh.
You know, who inspired you? How to start?
Inspired me the most? Probably Squire in terms of production quality. Recently. But I don't know. I think I just started making content for the sake of making content because YouTube was like actually somewhat decent back then. Yeah, no, it's hard to say.
You can't say that.
Hey, what? No, I free speech.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Censorship.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Probably Mike Goes Boom. If anything, I've been subscribed to Mike since he had like 2,000 subs. But you know, there's other content creators that inspired me. But
I remember him at
$4
grand. I remember him at $4 grand.
Yeah, same. I found him because of Thunder League, by the way. And I found Thunder League because of the Orange Doom.
See,
it's amazing how content creators network like that.
I think I found Mike through Orange, actually. I think Orange is probably my initial kind of inspiration behind my channel back just over a year ago. That type of content didn't really take off for me initially, so I kind of struggled to find a groove at first and ended up where I am now. But yeah, Orange was definitely my initial kind of what I was attempting to emulate. Not copy, emulate.
I mean, you know,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
All content kind of tends to copy itself when it comes to trying to grow your channel and whatnot. I mean, look at
you gotta pick a style.
Look at just about any YouTuber. You know, it's kind of just all the same stuff in one sense. They just all have different personalities that go into it, but it's all the same kind of content.
Well, what was the statistic? It was like 2,000 channels with over 1 million subscribers.
Yeah, probably.
There's more than 2,000 channels.
Oh, I reckon it would be more now because that stat's something like a year and a half old. It's incredible, but there are just so many people that use the platform that it's almost impossible to not be similar to some. It's just like people you meet out on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially you'll struggle to pick up what's unique about certain content creators, and then it's after you kind of give them a chance and you start finding, how they differ from everything else you've seen on the internet so far.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool though, seeing how we're pretty much all similar but different in our own ways. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's that beautiful thing about people in general. Like I see that when I'm doing when I'm in the field, I guess, in the department, you come across so many different people, and it doesn't matter. You could pick two men aged 43, height 173 centimeters, 60 kilos, something like that. They will both be different, even down to their bone structures. Some of them will be different because of the slight ways that everyone eat. Like just the difference in everyone, even though it's minute, it manifests itself in ways that you will notice, and it's quite interesting to see that in a YouTube perspective.
Yeah,
because everyone has their little quirk, everyone has their little niche.
I can almost hear Jeff Goldblum talking about chaos theory right now.
And before Matt Pat does a video
Dear God.
on individualism and content creation, how it's not all the same, but same. Ugh.
Oh God, let's not get into that one. The mysterious reason is you've all been inspired by me, of course. My gunsing videos.
Sweet. You're a bit behind on the sub count, my boy. Much love.
There's shots
I
fired
have
there.
to be harsh.
You're about to ask, what do you guys do for jobs? And I think we should start with TheElite because he's been nice and quiet over there in this corner of the room.
Ah, yes.
So what, so explain to us your job. What do you do? What does it involve doing?
Sure. I'm a graphic designer for a trash can company. Now it sounds super exciting, but I did work at an aircraft museum, and I actually moved jobs a couple weeks ago. But yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. What about you, Ash?
Well, I'm currently unemployed, seeking full-time work. I've had probably 15 jobs in the last 2 years, on and off. Moved several cities and various different bits and pieces. I'm currently my only employment. Well, I say employment. It's volunteer work. I'm a volunteer firefighter with the Country Fire Authority in the province of Victoria, in Australia. So that's good fun. It keeps me entertained. Yeah.
Nice.
Lots of fires.
At least you can find
Lots
a
of
job.
idiots and bin fires and things. So
Oh, it's Australia. It's probably hot as shit anyway. Most of the time.
give or take.
What do you spit?
Well, I may have already mentioned this, but I study radiography, so medical imaging. I'm in my 3rd year, so still got a little bit to go, but getting there. And for work, I basically stack shelves at a supermarket, which ruins my sleeping schedule, but it's perfect if you want to, keep up with those North Americans and Europeans.
Yeah, Swede says spit's a full-time homo.
I'm a full-time homo. Not quite so much. Only part-time when you're around, man.
Oh, jeez. What about you, Koala?
I am secretly Marshmallow. I'm the guy under the mask. It's been me the whole time. Welcome to, you heard it here first, folks.
Oh,
Okay,
shit.
you owe me money, Palmer. That's we're gonna Italian style this up. No,
I'm in a similar situation to Ash. I've been back and forth between jobs for the past kind of year and a half. I'm currently I've worked in advertising up until relatively recently, but at the moment I'm kind of between jobs and got more time on my hands than I know what to do with. So that's my deal currently.
Yeah, I'm I'm unemployed. it's quite difficult to find a job where I'm in New Zealand, being that there's so many jobs that are already taken and whatnot. But volunteer work wise, I do my game master stuff for War Thunder, which is me just running around smacking people for breaking rules, and I get quite a bit of the hate from the community. I know Elite gets a bit of hate because I was, when you're on the staff team, you kind of just get flammed anyway. Yeah. And I'm also a moderator for Fly Daily, who impossible to get in touch with half the time, but I guess that's just what content creators are like after a point. It's so busy, it's like, yeah, we'll dip in every once in a while, make sure everything's running fine, I run his Discord forum,
I seem to have no trouble contacting content creators. I don't know. I don't have that problem.
I have it constantly.
Run into them everywhere. I don't know why.
The only content creator I can run into on a constant basis is Weeby. That's because we both play.
He's not really he's an old school.
Yeah, he's real old school. He's
I'm one of the few. Not to just self-title myself this, but I think I'm one of the few content creators who came into this game with no friends. I didn't have any connection to older, existing content creators like Orange or Mike or Ash or Slick or Fly or whatever. So yeah, I've been. Please give me contacts.
Your photo says Ash has a problem contacting Mags. Runs away from Ash.
I ran into him about 8 or 9 times this weekend, although we didn't say anything immediately to each other. That was cool.
Oh jeez.
I tell you who I did run into this weekend because I went to PAX Australia. I ran into Stimpy. He does Rust videos and things. Got like
yes, I've watched his content.
Is it 1.3 million or is it 450,000? I don't know. There are so many other content creators, fucking out there. It's quite weird.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah.
But
see, I'm probably never going to meet a content creator for War Thunder because there's none of them in New Zealand, especially not down where I am, because I'm way down south in Dunedin as opposed to being way up in fucking Auckland or Wellington.
Oh yeah.
I think Wellington would be where most of them are.
I'd like to go to Wellington, but housing there. Oof. Jesus.
That tends to be the way in the capital cities. Sydney is starting to get $1 million houses in the western suburbs, which used to be an absolute dive.
I mean, Wellington's more realistic than Auckland. I would dodge Auckland, so. Yeah. The older legend asks, how was the pizza, Ash?
Pizza was good. If you don't know what the pizza I'm talking about is, have a look at my lounge, my Discord. I had I had a really nice lunch with some other content creators. Did some networking.
Oh.
But it was good pizza. Meat lovers, wood fired.
Oh,
and now I'm hungry.
Don't do this to me, Ash.
I have a lasagna.
I've eaten it already. But, yeah.
God damn it! I have a lasagna in the oven. Now you're making me hungry.
That looks good.
Anyway, you're welcome, Twitch chat. You asked, you get what you deserve. Why do you have such a deep voice?
Genetics.
I've always gotten away with things.
If we're looking for a game collusion, I can jump in the 109 E3. I don't have the E7.
Yeah, I just I'll throw a game on while the Twitch chat's. It gets quite boring just sitting here listening to us talk sometimes.
The E4 and the E7 basically have the same flight model anyway.
Yeah. E7's just a plane that you throw at all the new players. Like, haha, I have a rear plane.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. Oh, come on. There we go. But yeah. So, this is a question that would be more directed for me and Elite. I've asked it before, but this is just, so Ashbit and Koala get the kind of idea how we got into the team. Why did you want to join the team, Elite? Or, why did you want to be a forum mod, I should say?
Yeah, I was a community helper, or I should start before that actually. I was active on the forums helping people, and I was offered the position of CH. And over the time when I was active as a CH, it kind of became interesting to me to join the mod team. and so I asked, and that's how I got on the mod team as a forum mod.
Yeah, mine's because you've been a community helper for like a year or two.
Yeah, I was a CH since January of 2017. But I never had the original intent to join the mods. It was just kind of a back thing, like, oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like with me, I was interested in being a community helper to help out the community in whatever way I could, and I showed interest in being a War Thunder Live mod and a game master, and after a while it was about a month of doing community helper things, which was basically just me greeting all the new players in the academy room of the forum.
That's basically what we do.
Yeah, Nomad got in touch with me about becoming a War Thunder Live mod, basically. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do this. And he's like, right, well, paperwork might take a bit, but, we'll put you in. And then later on, Orson ES, who's the head GM, he also got in touch with me and he's like, would you like to be a game master? I was like, can I do both? He's like, no, you can't do both. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'd have to talk with Nomad about it. And he's like, no, it's alright, I've talked to Nomad. I was like, oh, okay, I'll be a game master then. Got me on board as a game master. It's,
Level up.
Yeah, pretty much. Sweet ass, general question to everyone. Do you ever feel lucky or privileged that your guys' main language is naturally English? As a non-native English speaker, I feel extremely limited at times to what I can say / how I express myself.
First off, the three Aussies here, we don't speak English, we speak Australian. And the Kiwis, they speak a dialect of their own, sometimes hard to understand.
Mordorian.
Yeah, and Maori as well.
Well, the way I've heard it described to me is, you know how you learn in school that your vowels are A, E, I, O, U. In New Zealand, they learn them as
Yeah, pretty much. I can get behind that.
You kind of just got to work it out for yourself.
Yeah, it's a guessing game after a while.
It always is, isn't it? But generally speaking, I don't think we. I don't know. That's a hard question to ask because none of us. I don't think any of us here know a second language predominantly.
I know the tiniest bit of Gaelic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But that was mainly for trying to look cool.
I mean, I learnt 9 years of German, but it hasn't got me anywhere. So I mean, there's that.
Oh, I learned Japanese for about 6, but that
I know, like,
that's gone.
I know
that's gone.
I know like 3 words in Japanese, and then maybe like 4 or 5 in Maori, and then the rest are just English.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, there you go.
No talent for multi languages.
Well, I
So
don't think
Swede,
there's a
count
real-
yourself lucky. You know 2 languages, not just one.
I don't think
more
there's a real
useful.
need to know any other language but English or Chinese, really.
I mean, simplified Chinese is easy way to go, or the easier way to go, I should say.
I think Swede. I don't envy your difficulties, but it is something you can kind of
You've got bragging rights.
market. Yeah, you can kind of assume it as part of your channel's identity.
Yeah, I understand.
And I think people like Napalm have done that, where they may not be native English speakers, but that's part of the identity of their channel. Not to point names at anybody in particular, just as an example.
I mean, I think even Mike struggled with English until he started doing YouTube.
Well, Mike struggled with speaking in general.
No,
I mean that. I mean that seriously, like public speaking.
Yeah.
And I think I remember watching Mike's very, very first video. I scrolled all the way down to his channel and found this little RuneScape video in like 4x3. And he's just mucking around in RuneScape, and he's talking about how he's trying to use YouTube to sort of help out his speaking and sort of social skills, I guess. Or at least that's what came across to me. And
making YouTube videos to help out social skills. Roger that.
Well, yes and no. But you learn how to speak, and you learn how to think about what you're saying, and that's really important when you're talking to people. Because if you don't really know what you're talking about, or if you don't really know how to convey it in a way that isn't going to make people angry, isn't going to make people hate you, and you do that successfully, you've pretty much got all the solid ingredients there for a good YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And for a good rounded person in a general conversation. And you can see that. You can see that in every YouTuber. You look at Orange's first video, and it's extremely, like, he's extremely shy, extremely sort of timid. And 2-3 years later, he's extremely confident. He's taken it over the top, maybe not. But you can see that development with every single YouTuber, from their first video all the way to today. It's incredible. It's incredible what that does. It's just making you think about what you've got to say.
I saw a question up here that was really good, but I think I've lost it now. Here it is. Why don't you guys tell us some funny stories from when you guys were young and stupid?
I mean, nothing's
young and
changed.
stupid.
I'm still young and stupid. I don't know. Let me think about that when I get back to...
It was I've got one there. So this is
Apparently
back
I'm
in-
young and stupid in this game, because I just got surprised by a plane with the loudest couple of engines you could find at this tier, so...
Yeah. Well, so I was going through, we were playing with lightsabers back in primary school. Because, you know, Star Wars was the cool craze back then, and they had these new plastic lightsabers that you could just kind of flick and they would extend out. And, we were having lightsaber battles, but we were having them on these singular posts that were kind of just held up that you would use for exercising. And, you know, I figured I'd give it a try, and I picked up one of the lightsabers, I was like, yeah, I'll fight someone. And, we were having a good go at each other, and then of course he kind of went for the inside of my leg. And I was surprised to the point where I did a wee bit of a jump, and I missed my footing with one of my legs. And
Ooh.
I kind of went...
Don't tell me it's something to do with the gonads. Ooh.
Yeah, the gonads went into the wooden log, and I kind of just fell off the log in pain.
Ow.
Yeah, that was... not an enjoyable time, I'll tell you that much.
Fell off the log in pain. Nobody clipped that.
Ooh. That's a really, really nice way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, now I feel really uncomfortable all of a sudden.
It's a bit too passionate to put it that nicely.
Too passionate, yeah, that's
It's
right.
passion, yeah. It's passion.
Yeah. Oh, I could tell you the story about how, as little kids, we were absolute shits. Especially when my brother and my cousin and I were all together. My mum and dad would call us the Three Stooges because we were an absolute bunch of idiots. But we were mucking around, I think, at my grandmother's place. She was looking after us for the day, and we were just sort of mucking around with the pillows and the couch cushions. We're throwing them around, and my grandmother didn't like that because she's quite house proud and likes to keep everything tidy and doesn't like things broken and whatever. And yeah, she got angry at us. We started to sort of pull back, and we went to the garage, and she locked us out. She had dementia, she had Alzheimer's, and she just had enough. And nope, I want him out of my sight for a bit. And yeah, that was quite fun. Until we decided to sneak around the front after finding a way through the side gate. We knocked on the front door, and we waited for our sisters to open the door, and we just barged straight past them and ended up locking my grandmother out of the house.
Oh, poor grandmother. I feel sorry for that old lady.
It's
That is
fine
evil.
because she has dementia and she forgot about it in 5 minutes.
That's all right. I was in the UK with my mother and my granddad and my grandmother. And my granddad's ex-Australian Army. That's a funny story altogether. I've got so many stories with that. But we're in the UK. He was on some sort of diplomatic mission, and the Australian government had sent him over as a part of the thing. So you know what? Family holiday, great. we're staying somewhere near, I think it was Portsmouth or somewhere down the southern end of England, and there's a hotel which is basically just a brick. It's just a brick, and it's just got layers of just rooms. And it's in the middle of nowhere. It's quite close to a castle and a cathedral and some other bits and pieces. But we're coming back from seeing some stuff around that particular city. And we're very tired. And of course, I thought it was a great idea to go up the elevator. Well, sorry. My rest of my family went into the elevator. I decided to run up the stairs and push all the buttons on the way up the floor. My family being so tired, they got out on the wrong floor and went to the wrong rooms and started sliding in the key cards and wondering why the key cards weren't working to get into the rooms. I thought it was hilarious as fuck. My mum then realised what I was doing because I was in hysterics and chased me around the fucking building for about an hour. Yeah, fun times. I was an idiot. Yeah, never do that again. But it was funny.
The South Sea Castle you're talking about there, Ash. I actually lived in Portsmouth for a couple of years.
Yeah,
Before
I
I came
think
into
that's
Australia
what it's
originally.
called. I can't remember. It was ages ago, but I was a bit of a tool.
The Mighty Jingles in Portsmouth, because that's where he lives, doesn't he?
I think he
Oh,
lives
really?
around there.
Something like that. I don't keep up
He
with
doesn't
jingles.
live too far from the docks.
I lived in Gosport,
whole
which is literally
controversy
just the
with
other side of the harbour.
Oh, yeah.
Is that why he needs to land on carriers all the time? Because he lives by the kind of military
Maybe.
operated
I mean,
docks there.
Portsmouth couldn't even operate a carrier, even if it tried. But you
You've got
see all the
Australia.
frigates that are just going underneath, repairs and stuff there at the naval base. I did a full tour. I went with my granddad. Yeah, no, it's not the best place. It looks almost like a Russian Cold War yard. Very sad, dilapidated, and there's a couple of frigates working, but yeah, British Navy budget cuts. That's all I got to say.
The only part of Australia I've touched is Brisbane. To be honest with that. It's about as far into Australia as I've been, and I think when I'm off to my trip to Japan at the end of the year, I'll probably drop in the Darwin that's up north? I think it's Darwin.
Yeah.
Stopping in there before I go straight to Tokyo. Yeah, that should be fun. Kishiba.
That was an interesting question.
Oh, go ahead.
Swede's question for everyone and anyone. Where does your interest in military stuff come from?
War Thunder.
Really?
Why?
Well, I'll be real. So, I was in high school. I had a friend who played War Thunder. And he's like, dude, you should play this game, it's so much fun. ERB's like the greatest. And I was like, okay. So, I started downloading it, and I was like, dude, this game looks like shit. Played a couple of matches, this game is shit. And, 4 years later, here I am playing it every day, so... And he doesn't play it anymore, so it's kind of weird how that went around, but, But all my interests from military, like World War II, modern, World War I, everything kind of stems from War Thunder.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a good place to start. I mean, many people nowadays, like many of our generation, really don't give a fuck, to be honest. And,
Yeah.
I mean, to them, the Soviet national anthem is just a meme. And, yeah, it is, but you got to think about it like...
You remember
what
that
it
it used
actually
to
is,
have
the historical value.
a lot of weight to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was all important at one point. The way I kind of got involved in this is actually my grandfather's father was in the British Navy in World War II. And they're actually currently making a movie about the ship that he served on. And he was a prisoner of war of the Japanese. And long story short, my grandfather's always been interested in that kind of stuff. And I actually originally got into War Thunder. I played Battle Stations Pacific. And so I was always involved in the naval aspect of, historical warfare. And I kind of just progressed towards War Thunder for fun, and then developed more of a historical interest in this side of things, tanks and aircraft, through playing War Thunder.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit similar in that way because for me personally, I like anything sort of engineering, I guess. I find generally war and strategy to be really interesting. And one of the things that really played into my interests was tactics used in aircraft. And one day, basically, my dad he's got a friend who he ran this model airplane club, and I was like, you know what, I'll go down and have a look. I got into that, and from there, it's basically all pretty standard. You know, I went from enjoying planes and stuff like that to playing a bit of War Thunder tanks and enjoying that, listening to a couple of naval stories from Jingles and all that. And whilst the ships don't really tickle my fancy as much as planes, they're still becoming a lot more interesting solely because of War Thunder. And you know, I read an 800-page book on the prisoners of war of Australia, and I found that very interesting as well. So just really anything with war, anything with strategy, and anything with some kind of cool, you know, engineering or anything like that. I think that's awesome, and War Thunder seems to be a nice culmination of all three.
Yeah, certainly decent.
Yeah.
For me particularly, it was always very family orientated. All the males on my mother's side of the family have served in the military. They've all been officers. One of my uncles was a pilot of Sea Fury back when Australia actually operated a carrier, the HMAS Melbourne, and it operated in North Korea. My granddad became a brigadier general in early 2000s. He was a Vietnam vet. He's got a Victoria Cross. There's all sorts of, like, I'm the only male in my family that hasn't gone into the military yet. It's very, very, the pressure is on, I'd say. But, you know, all the women in my family, they've all been in managerial positions. And I guess that history, you know, family values was taught. You know, I learned about Spitfires and I learned about boomerangs and things, and it's fascinating. So I pursued like interests around that because that's what I was exposed to. So, you know, and it all works out in the end. We're all here for common reasons, one way or another. We all like history, you know.
Yeah.
So
Mine's kind of similar to Ash in that my family is very military oriented. My grandfather was in the U.S. Navy during World War II. My great grandfather on my mother's side was in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II. So, but I learned about their history, and it kind of branched from that.
You know, I think a lot of people have strong ties to the military. Not so much on my side. I've got like no family that were in the military.
Yeah, I'm the same. The closest you could probably get you'd have to go back about 400 years because my family originally comes from Malta, and Malta is an island nation, and the British and the French and the Ottomans had constantly been sort of jockeying for this island.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just about it. My family's just been civilian for in excess of 300 years.
do you think that it'd ever change? Do you think that you'd ever personally join, you know, the Australian Defence Force or another military if shit hits the fan?
Not if shit were to hit the fan, I would happily like. I would.
Or would you continue being a civil servant as like in your medical profession and serve that way?
I would probably serve that way because I feel like that's the best way that I could put myself to use, I guess. In a time, especially in a time of need, like a time of war or anything sort of like that, because I feel like that would be probably the best way just to make myself useful.
I've got to say, I would be in the Australian Defence Force right now if Australia had a true aircraft carrier.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one. kinda. Although my landings are particularly awful. That's another fun story altogether. I've got my pilot's license for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah, no. I'm not going to
Can't be
go
worse
into
than
detail,
Jaws,
but
though.
I regret landing. It is the worst part of... It's easy to get off the ground. Putting the bitch back down. Yeah.
Oh. It's funny. Everyone would say to me while I was flying radio control planes, they'd all say, you know, it's all good and well if you can do rolls and loops and low passes and all that, but every time you got a really nice landing, you would hear clapping from the stands. Basically, there's a little pit area basically behind the pilot's box. They'd have like a little box sectioned off that was just for the pilots, just for safety reasons. And behind that, a good like 30 meters was a little shelter with benches and stuff, and everyone would sit there, and that's where they'd watch people fly from. And you could see a really good landing from setup, and they just come in and just grease it in with the right amount of throttle, the right amount of elevator, and it would just look perfect even from a distance. And if you were standing in the pilot's box, just as the wheels touch down, you could just hear them gently sort of spin before they actually touch down. And that's when you knew that the landing was amazing. It's just such a good feeling to nail that, though. It's just perfect.
See, I used to be a little bit into RC car racing, and people would cheer from the stands more when you fucked up.
That sounds like the typical Aussie bogan thing to do, though. Like,
well,
when don't we love a good bash up? I think that's why Australians don't really enjoy NASCAR as much as we do Bathurst, because, I mean, you know...
Bathurst is great.
Sorry, Americans. But,
it's funny. I'd always talk to the older guys in the club, because generally the club was full of retirees. And well, the one thing that they would always say is that the RC cars are for the meatheads, and the RC planes are for the real fine gentlemen, you know. But I think they were saying it mostly in jest, but you know, it's still quite funny.
I've got to admit, today, you know, as old as I am now, I would actually second that. You know, I would have. I think if I'd have been into RC aircraft, I would still be into it now, and I don't do cars anymore. So what does that tell you?
Yeah,
I was never into the RC cars you could actually buy in person, but I remember owning an RC car racing game, which was very Kiwi back then, especially on my Windows 98 computer, with the big clickety-click keyboard and the big box monitor.
Oh my god.
That was my RC
I
choice.
had one of them till too late. I probably had one of them until 2009.
I think we all had one at one point.
I didn't get a computer until, like, 2014, so...
I got a laptop in 2011, and it was a MacBook, and that's how I began playing War Thunder, with about 12 frames per second.
Oh boy.
I used to have a really good
Peasant.
laptop. Don't worry.
There's not many people I know that play on Linux or on a Mac OS. I'm not judging you per se. Yes, I am. Yeah, no. I did play on someone's Mac War Thunder once. One of the guys from Trade Education Center, or TAFE, you know, I played a little bit of War Thunder on Mac. No, fuck no. Yeah, no.
Is it just what's the main issue with it? It's just yuck.
It's the same game, right? Essentially the same game. But it's not the same game. Because you're on a Mac, isn't it? It's the feeling of, oh, this is a different operating system. How the fuck am I supposed to use that, you know?
It's also the fact
keys are
that
relatively the
I
same.
began playing air battles with a trackpad, so...
Speaking of
That's
that,
even worse than me.
I started playing War Thunder with only on keyboard.
How?
And just used keyboard only for a while, because I didn't know how you could use mouse or whatever.
I'll just bind your
So,
elevator keys to...
Back when I had like
keyboard keys.
level 2, you know, you'd be playing the Beaufort in the British bomber tech tree, and I used a WASD and, like, you know, arrow keys.
No,
Do you like my landing there collision, by the way?
that was glorious.
Yeah, my plane was a bit lighter after that, I must say.
It's like when you get a new haircut, you're feeling a lot lighter.
Weight reduction, bro.
The wizard lizard says, "Hello. Tell Ash I said hi."
There seems to be a lot of people after me.
Ah,
Hello, everyone. Get that out of the way.
you're the
Mr. Popular here.
you're the popular guy of the season. But
It's because I cheated. I put a ping on my Discord to say, come in
What the
and say
fuck?
hello.
Ah.
oh,
I did the
really?
same, but
Nice.
Okay,
I did the
then.
same.
But
my
there's no
Discord
people
is
saying hello to
entirely-
you, is there, Koala?
Hold on, I got
My
this.
Discord is made up entirely of Europeans, so yeah, nobody's online right now.
I'm a
Ash
helicopter.
is the best looking koala in all the land, to be honest.
That's
Thank you,
fine with
Screen.
me. I don't know about you.
So I'm
You don't
not
need
entirely sure what that was about, but
Yeah, I noticed that.
that was
Did your tail get shot off, did you?
yeah. There was
Quite friendly.
a very angry spaghetti chasing me, and he decided that.
I think you stole his kill.
But he didn't kill it, therefore it's not kill stealing. It's assisting the
know.
kill.
But you know, it's a community thing. So.
Yeah, that's true. Jesus,
Right.
what was that?
That's a lot of bits.
Holy shit! 5,000 bits, Jesus.
That's
Did not expect
that's a
that.
lot of bits.
Yeah,
Oh my god, ref.
if you wonder,
You-
if you wonder why the notification didn't pop up, it's because I have notifications turned off. Because you know the notifications go louder than the our voices. I have those turned off when I do
Yeah,
a podcast, and I turn them back on whenever I'm just streaming normal. But yeah, that's a lot of.
Riff Raff is just flexing his wallet. Yeah, wizard. He does.
I wish I could flex my wallet. Oh, well, it's got like.
Ref has more money than he knows what to do
If
with.
one of us content creators in the War Thunder spectrum was actually a millionaire, I'm pretty sure the other content creators might, leech off that person a little bit.
Sometimes I wonder if Li's a millionaire. He goes out and buys a BMW and sells his BMW for another vehicle. But that might just
I
be.
have a multi-millionaire on my Discord, actually. Oh, I don't think he shows up anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
what a lottery.
I was hanging out with Rydonku. He's one of the Steam 4 moderators on his Discord, and we were just chilling playing War
yes.
Thunder. And a guy hops in the chat, and he's like, "Oh, this is the guy with the Lamborghini." It's like, what?
What?
Lamborghini? We don't have Lamborghinis here in New Zealand. The best you can get in New Zealand's a Ford or a Holden.
Oh. Nothing beats my 06 Corolla, though.
You little yard racer.
It's good enough.
Nothing
man.
beats 2 legs, man. 2 legs.
It's 2 legs.
2 legs on
Fucking
water.
like as much horsepower as I'll go. If there's a clown chasing me, at that point I'll start. It might go up above 20 horsepower. We don't know. But
So speaking
it
of
is Halloween.
speaking of wallets and cash and whatnot, how's the adpocalypse thing that everybody went through a while back? Has it affected you guys at all?
For me,
I
no.
wouldn't know.
Not really.
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I'm too recent to the community.
It did hit me hard, and it's still hitting me hard, but that's okay. I will power through.
You might just have to become Daily Motion.
Apparently, I swear too much, which is, Australian. If you're not swearing enough, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I think
we-
YouTube's just anti-Australian now.
Could we just claim victim points for being Australian and just say that YouTube is being racist to us because they're not allowing us to swear?
Yeah, but then
which is part
then
of our
some
culture.
Yeah,
some feminist vegan will come along and say, "Oh, but Australia's always racist." So
there's already
but
there's already a vegan that's done that.
Australia doesn't exist, so we shouldn't be earning any money.
don't get me started.
If I'm not mistaken, there was I think it was a Canadian feminist who complained that Vegemite was black because Aboriginals are black. And then later on went to say the same thing about Marmite and Maoris.
Okay.
So
I've never heard that many chromosomes come out of someone's in a single
Jar of chromosomes was spilled today.
oh, it was the dumbest thing ever. And then she was gonna put a ban on the word cunt because all the Australians kept calling her a dumb cunt every time she tried to explain herself.
Ah, dear.
If I ever find that
It's the
video,
world we live in. Political correctness, if that's the word.
This is why internet careers are the best. Just exposure to this level of bullshit right here.
Cracks me the fuck
Well,
up.
that's
Though.
the greatest bit because you get to
That's made
just
my
sit there and
day.
laugh it off.
I can.
It's a joke, and they'll take it fucking seriously. So it's their
Oh,
problem.
if you can't laugh it off, you're in the wrong line of work.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
I think I can find it. Hold on, let me try and find the video. It's here on YouTube somewhere.
Speak of it.
I'll just dump it. Oh yeah. It's alright. I forgot to give you access to the podcasting room, but that's fine. I can just send it individually. Where is it? Here it is. Found it. Right. Is
Ah, yes, Cassidy Baboon, as she's known as.
there we go.
Yes.
That's it.
The infamous Marcus Dibble call out. That was well before all this the drama between, you know, the Logan Pauls and whatever started happening.
Yeah.
It's always the
So-
kids that come from Disney and child.
Let's get
actors.
right into the news.
Let's get right into the news.
Let's get right into the news.
I just blame the Disney Channel and Disney in general for ruining those kids. They could have turned out to be such lovely chaps.
Yeah, I think YouTube's
But no.
YouTube's gone down the shaft recently with everything that's going on.
It's just become more
It certainly
mainstream.
has.
Like,
It's become more corporate.
I feel like it's not about helping the little guy anymore. It's more about continuing the longevity of the big guy.
Yeah,
Well,
they've decided
Increasing watch
to.
time on their platform. That's all they want, really.
Because, you know, the big channels are bringing in cash, and, you know, part of that goes to YouTube, so.
Yeah. But the thing is, the things that people stay for, like the small communities of 1 million subscribers or less, are the ones that are really bringing in the community, and that's what keeps the platform. So what YouTube's got to do is they've got to find that balance. If they don't find the balance, then they end up being either too corporatist, when they end up just crushing the little guy by supporting the big channels as they are, or they focus too much on that little guy and
Oh my
keep
God,
trying to push the little guy up when they can't really sustain themselves, or they keep quitting or whatever. So it's about finding that balance. And YouTube's just gone too far towards the big guy. It needs to come back to the little
I
guys.
know many channels, and I know a lot of people that have just left, YouTube in general because of, this, creators that had fantastic work. They've just stopped. And it's kind of sad to see, because some of these people, you grew up watching, or, you watched because you really like their content. It's just, it's really demotivating. And the hole that's left, I don't know. We've kind of got to fill in those shoes, but it's even hard when a video gets demonetized because it doesn't get pushed out to subscribers anyway. So it's
That's the thing that I really don't like.
and then the sub box, and it's just little changes that people have been complaining about for years. It's really hard to say because it's a really complex issue. It's like, it's not political, but it's an American company, so.
Scree, I feel really sorry for you with the misfortune of timing that your channel had, because you've put a lot of work and a lot of effort into the content you make, and some of it is really fantastic, and YouTube screwed a lot of people over, but it kind of very unfortunately got you at the perfect wrong time, if that makes sense.
I was talking with some of the creators at PAX and how they had been affected by demonetization, because there was a panel. If you had a content creator tag, or a lanyard with a special content creator badge, you were allowed into this room. And we were having a massive discussion about it, and it was a heated, argumented, discussion. It was. YouTube doesn't realize that they're not just fucking with fans or people. They're fucking with people's lives. Or
And now
people's
it's
work.
Now YouTube has become a source of income, and a source of primary income for so many people. You think
Hundreds
about
of thousands.
No.
You think about people that quit their jobs to do this stuff, like Boris, Life of Boris. He used to work as a programmer, and now he's doing YouTube full time. And then the apocalypse hit him, and now he's
YouTube is
demotivated.
anti-Russian as well. Yeah,
That would surprise me.
It's
YouTube.
It's the people that are teetering on the edge of being able to do it full time and not quite and possibly, and then Apocalypse comes and they're like, "Yep, I'm going to be working my job for another 6 months before my channel grows to that kind of size now." So it really does screw with people's life plans sometimes when they really take it seriously and the potential of doing this for a career. It can come at just the wrong time.
Yeah, I think I'm not too fast on my YouTube channel personally. Like, I kind of sit there and look at it and think, I could totally give this a go. I could pump out a video a day. I could find my own kind of rhythm. But then I look at, you know, what's happening with how content creators are getting pinged left and right for, you know, the really nice dollar symbol in the yellow circle. And, you know, I just think, yeah, I'm not going to bother wasting my time with this. I'd rather just come to Twitch, have a bunch of people on, have a talk about whatever, and cuss things the fuck out like I do whenever I get shot the fuck down, because it pisses me off.
I've got to ask, just the most random question. Is it still a dollar sign for people whose currencies aren't dollars?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the same universal symbol.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, worst case scenario is
that was the end of my conversation.
Somebody will complain about it and they'll change it to like a yellow euro or something. It's something they would do, I feel.
Yeah. One thing I find is, for me, when I play games, I listen to music.
Yeah.
I listen to music most of the time. Like, you name it, everywhere pretty much except in the shower, I listen to music. And when I play games, I've got background music, and I find that'll always come in my recordings. So I can't have the game sounds in my videos, and as a result, I have this emptiness in my videos, and I'm too scared to replace it with music, even if it's in Creative Commons, because I have put some like music that's supposedly copyright free into my videos, and 3 months down the track, it's gone, hey, you've got a copyright claim on this video because you've used copyrighted music.
Yeah. I had that a couple of times.
And I mean, money doesn't mean anything from YouTube because it's nowhere near enough to pay for anything.
At the size of where we're at, we're Koala, what, you're 7K? You know, 1.5, you're 5.5.
Yeah.
It's all cents in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's enough for me to pay for my like fuel, and that's about it.
I was gonna say, I think I get about $250 every month, roughly.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Clickbaiter.
It's like what Riffraff says, like, you can't upload streams to YouTube anymore because of song requests. Just song requests and just playing music in general. It doesn't matter what, like, if you play more than 5 songs, at least one of them is going to get hit by copyright because YouTube's algorithms is garbage.
Yeah. And I don't know if that should go under fair use or not, or...
I mean,
because you're not...
You can fight fair use for it, but with how things are in modern day, chances are there's going to be like, no, rejected. Or the client might not even respond, and it's a win for you because people were just issuing them left, right, and center for free cash.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a business on YouTube, those who can start up fake record labels. I believe the Mighty Jingles talked about this one subject, how he got claimed about 15 or 16 times for something that was in fair use, but about a bunch of companies claimed it. And it was like 15 or 16 different companies claimed it. I had something similar happen to one of my videos. I believe I had like 15 or 16 claims, all from different companies I had never heard of, wanting to claim the revenue because apparently that was their music.
I love the copyright claim of the Soviet national anthem by the Red Army Choir. But it wasn't the version that was sung by the Red Army Choir.
Yep.
So I thought
the thing is, either way, it's a national anthem, and therefore it automatically goes into Creative Commons.
Yeah, well, it should. It doesn't.
Like, I got claimed for a video with copyright, and I disputed it, and it came back fine.
I was
it'll happen with weird ones.
I was making a bug report, or not really a bug report. It was basically showing. This was before I was a community helper, by the way. There was an exploit going around on making your decals really big again. It was using like Cheat Engine or something, and I was kind of fiddling with it on like a test account, so I could be like, I pass it on to the guys so that so they can sort it out.
Right.
And they eventually. I don't know what happened to that account. I've left it, and I haven't touched it on this account, but they've obviously patched over. But there was no sound through the entire 3-minute video I made of that, and I had this one Windows notification popped up because I wanted to update to Windows 10 something or other.
Yeah.
And I got a copyright claim for that one Windows notification.
Bullshit. That's fucked.
Copyright
What
for
were they-
what?
It was a copyright for the Windows notification. It was from some random ass choir, and I was like, "The fuck's this about?"
What?
Yeah.
What?
I would personally dispute that because stuff.
I did dispute
I've
that.
gotten bullshit.
It's so
Yeah.
That makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
It does. Well, you will literally make 0 sense because all the money goes to that person who,
Yeah.
That's a funny thing about YouTube. With where we are as content creators, we're history, we're gaming, we're military gamers, or therefore, it's a funny place in YouTube. It seems to be a censored place in YouTube. It seems to be all like colorful Fortnite, that kind of crap. Yeah, it's quite strange. War Thunder as a whole, while it's a good platform to branch out, and grow an audience on, it isn't the biggest audience to grow on.
The thing I find, just to cut you off for a split second here, Ash, is that the War Thunder audience is very War Thunder heavy.
Yeah.
So like nothing any of us uploads on other games is going to get as much attention as War Thunder content.
No, exactly.
As a general rule. Anyway, continue what you're saying.
That's basically it. Like we've kind of pinned ourselves in a bit of a sticky situation. So if War Thunder does eventually, say decline, like all the people on the forums have been complaining about, I mean, I haven't seen any solid proof of that. Sure, there are players leaving, but they're coming back slowly. I mean, hell, when open beta of ships came in, there were 65,000 players online or something silly.
Yeah.
No, the players aren't dying. There's old players coming back to test out your game still, but it's not. I think it's an issue with player retention.
This is actually a topic I've been wanting to speak about for a while, but I kind of lay it under wraps because I have to uphold this whole I'm a War Thunder staff member rep thing. But I talk on my own terms here, not as a staff member or anything, but as a fucking weeaboo War Thunder player. The community pisses me off sometimes with how much they can overreact with things.
Well,
Like,
that's what I was saying with my
it does my head in
parts
so
of FBE
much.
video. I just said, you can bash the devs, but you won't get anywhere because you just show them that you're acting like children, and they don't respond to children. They respond to adults in an adult way.
Professionalism, yeah.
And honestly, if the way Fly handled himself, the way I handled myself, the way I think I watched Koala's video. I can't remember though because it just doesn't really matter that much to me.
Because in the end, you're going to get the same comments and the same,
It's
oh,
the
War
way-
Thunder's
the way-
dying.
the way the community handled itself on that stream and the way they kept rubbing it into Sean doesn't set a good standard for the rest of the community who actually wants to put in suggestions and wants to work with the developers and with the Gaijin staff in general to produce a result that's beneficial for both parties. Because you've got to remember, it's not just us that needs to look for something good from this. You can give and take, and you can get a good solution in the end, without conceding too much or without, not getting what you set out for. And just by being civil, the amount of difference that you can make in a discussion is incredible. That's why, if you don't mind me taking this to politics very briefly.
Oh, it's alright.
certain group, you get certain groups like on the extremes that tend to be a bit not necessarily vocal. They just tend to be a bit more aggressive in the way that they talk about things. Like you look at the anarcho-communist Antifa, and you look at the white nationalist alt-right and the Richard Spencer groups, and they're all talking about getting rid of a certain group. If they just watered that down, they could make their message a lot more appealing.
Understandable. Yeah.
Not necessarily. It's not a good message, and I don't condone that. No fucking way. But if they were a bit more civil about themselves, and if they didn't, go on the streets and set fire to trash cans and small businesses, then maybe you'd have a better angle for discussion.
I think the word you're looking for, Spit, is noob friendly.
Yeah, yes and no. I think it's
to make an analogy here. It is kind of people who aren't already involved are the ones that aren't going to respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To head back to the stream issue that we were talking about just a second ago, I think what Sean said was kind of stupid. I think we can all agree on that, and he knew that instantly, and people ripped into him.
Yeah.
Way too much.
I agree.
But there's a certain level of when you say something stupid and you're in a position where you're an official kind of voice, and you say something stupid, you need to know that, and he did know that.
He
almost
realized,
instantly.
Yeah.
He realized mid-sentence that what he was saying, you could see his eyes halfway through the sentence. He's like, I don't know if this was a good idea, but we're on the train now. What's going on? But yeah, there's a point where it's too much.
I think he just felt a bit pressured, and the whole chat was sitting there saying stuff,
It was borderline autistic what I saw in chat.
Oh, I wasn't.
When I was chatting to Miles, now Miles, many miles away, another War Thunder content creator, he said that the Russians, the community that he talked to, or the community managers, or what have you, of the Russian community and the other non-English community or Western communities, weren't complaining at all about FPA in parts, and I found that really interesting. The Russian YouTubers, the two that went to Gamescom, said they had no issues at all with people complaining about FPA in parts because it had been in the game forever. So it's kind of ironic that we go back to talk about the behavior of the community as a whole, and here it is.
I think it was a bad time. Because we just had the whole stock syndrome video from Gaiden's official channel, and I think it was just the wrong thing at the wrong time. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been half as big as it was.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly think that they're just. I think some people are a little bit too self-entitled. Let's just put it that way.
I think the War Thunder. This is just my opinion, by the way. I think the War Thunder community is just a bit. They feel like that things should be done their way and not Gaijin's way, per se.
Yeah.
Well, ever since the community banded together against the paid modifications, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Should give you extra fire extinguishers or slightly better turn time or something like that. Which was a good move as the community. I feel like the community has been like, hey, we can change the game now. They listen to us,
Yeah.
I think that's been going on for a long time. Gaijin has been listening to the community, albeit very cautiously, for a very long time.
I think the problem with that is there's the people in the community that are there's kind of three camps within War Thunder players. There's the people who are very interested in historical realism, as in that's one of their personal interests, and they're very interested in seeing 100% realism in game. There's that community that are like, oh, the mouse should be 5.3 because it fought Shermans, and to just separate World War II and post-war so that the Centurion is battle rating 8.0. I don't know. Then there's the people who are interested in that kind of stuff. They have a lot of knowledge about that kind of thing, like a lot of people on the Beehive Discord. I'm just going to point them out as an example. But that doesn't mean they want to see it in game. And then there's the people that want this to be a true arcade. And Gaijin has to kind of balance them listening to three very, very different communities with three very, very different mindsets about what should be implemented and what should not be implemented. And it makes it really difficult for Gaijin to justify to the people they don't listen to why they have gone with a differing opinion about what direction the game should take in a certain aspect.
That actually makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true, and I think some part of it being a free to play title, meaning that anyone can pick it up. You don't leave yourself to a sort of paid dedicated audience, but a lot of I have noticed that a lot of the things that people complain about seem to be resonating with communities in other games as well, like hit registration or stuff like that. You take games.
That was glorious.
Oh my god.
Oh god. Oh. For
Well,
anyone who
they're
didn't
flying
realize,
boomerangs.
that 109 G2 just suicided trying to kill me. That was brilliant. That was
Glorious on my
That was
side.
gorgeous.
I was doing donuts on the sand when that happened.
Oh man.
Oh, that was great.
That's always satisfying, isn't it?
Did you want to play
But
Boomerang?
yeah,
Ash?
anyway.
it's, when someone's got such a hard on
I'm
to kill
currently
you that they
playing
kill
the
themselves.
T80B, but that is very tempting.
I find personally that a lot of communities sort of argue about, or not argue, they joust with the developers about the same things, like servers and hit registration and minutiae of the game. Like, if you look at the other... So I used to play a lot of PUBG, and there was a big issue with loot, and I think there still is. You drop somewhere where, like, you drop in a city, you'd go into a house and you would find some like gloves, some 45 ACP, and a single 1911, and the other guy would have like level 2 gear and an AK, and you get instantly shafted because someone by chance found the better loot. Similarly, in Rainbow Six, you've got people complaining about operators being too OP. You've got hit registration, which is absolutely garbage in that game for a shooter.
Oh.
For a shooter, the hit registration is pretty poor. And then with War Thunder, you've got stuff like battle ratings, you've got repair costs, and stuff like
Sparks.
that. And
The thing is, everyone has their own opinion about what is unbalanced and what is not. Like, some
everyone
people
has their own
scream
little
to you
gripe
that
with the
the
game.
RU251 is OP and should be 7.7, and then some people will say it's unusable and should be like 5.7. Yeah, there's always different opinions, and everybody's got something.
Well, that's the thing.
I'm sure even just bringing this up, I'm going to have somebody say that the Tiger 2 should be like 6.0, and then someone's going to say Tiger 2 is OP.
Don't worry, Koala. Nobody watches me on YouTube anyway, so nobody will know.
I mean,
gonna
when I first got the ME163, I said, like, I don't know how people are doing so well in this. As far as I've seen, it doesn't hold a candle to the F2H. And then, having followed it more, I'm now, ME163 easily competes with 9.0s. Like, I'm saying, it's a weird community where, someone can have... It's not just people who haven't played a vehicle and are calling it OP. It's sometimes people who have played the absolute crap out of a vehicle and are calling it overpowered. And then someone else who's played the absolute crap out of a vehicle, played opposition to it, and is saying, I trashed them so easily. It seems like they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's that camp. The KV220 is the worst imbalance in the entire game, and it should be like battle rating 10.5. And then there's the camp that says, hold on, what is the purpose of a heavy tank right now? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many different opinions about what is balanced and what is not, and Gaijin's never going to please everybody, and it's just a case of justifying to people why something exists where it does.
Yeah. Especially...
I think for the most part, Gaijin makes good decisions on their like battle ratings. For the most part, like there are some exceptions.
Oh, there's exceptions.
There are some reasons why certain battle ratings shouldn't be a certain way, but Gaijin does it anyway to please the player base. So stuff that's difficult to use, like the 163, and for some reason the G91. I think it's just difficult to use. G91.
I think the G91 is at 8.0 because Italy doesn't have any other jets in that line, and they don't want people to jump straight into 9.0 from like 5.3.
No.
I never thought about it that way.
Like if we had the
genuinely
Fiat
never thought about it that way.
G81, I believe it is, or G80, which is basically a P80 with only 2 machine guns. If we had that at like 7.0, then all of a sudden the G91 can be up to like 8.7. I've been a fan of the idea of 8.3 and 8.7 for jets for a long, long time.
That's my favorite meta.
I've always been
Before
a fan
we
of
even had
like,
7.3 and 7.7.
the whole point 3.7 thing, I think. I'm in favor of that for just about everything, really. Just having those extra,
Give me more
just
of that,
giving that
yeah.
room and allowing for that difference in BRs makes gameplay a lot easier to balance.
I've also been a big kind of pusher for the idea of having a 0.7 battle rating spread per match, at least in realistic mode.
Yeah.
Just because I think it was Chicken that pointed this out to me, and it was basically saying that the difference in performance between an 8.0 and a 9.0 is bigger than the difference in performance between a 3.0 and a 6.0.
Yes.
Like, there's, you know, I think Chicken made a video about this. To balance something at 8.0, it has to be not overpowered at 7.0, which is already difficult to make, but it also has to be capable of defending itself basically at 9.0. And for any plane to fill both of those gaps, something's going to go awry.
I got distracted.
And the G91 is that middle ground that is really good.
I mean, I've said the F2H is better in an up tier than a down tier, and I'll stand by that to this day. I think the F2H does better fighting against 9.0s than it does against 8.0s. The G91 is the exact opposite. You know, as an 8.0 fighting it in a 7.0, 7377, you're sitting there thinking, why is this not a 9.0? You fight it in a Saber, and all of a sudden you realize that this thing can't touch you.
Well, I've actually seen that the G91 seems to just be capable no matter where it's put. I mean, I've only played the pre, and I've been able to outturn A5 Sabres without an issue. I've been able to keep up with F2 Sabres, maybe they were stock. Been able to do everything I can against MiGs, and it just seems to work.
The very few matches I've played in it, I think, oddly enough, it did better against MiGs than Sabres. Because the Sabre kind of epitomizes what a 9.0 G91 would look like. Whereas the MiG is kind of the antithesis to it.
I feel like the MiG is just in a shit spot right now. It's just had too many nerfs, and the guns
it's
are
hard
just
to
too
watch.
too hard for the normie to use. The normies don't know how to use it. I don't know how to use it.
I will say that
MiG
I have
7s either.
adored the MiG. I despise the MiG 15s, both of them, even the BIS. I despise them, and I know some people even to this day will say they prefer a MiG 15 BIS to a MiG 17, and they have more fun in it. And I don't understand, and I understand that comes from me not having enough experience in it and me just not being good enough to fly it. But I don't understand. Whereas the MiG
No,
17, I adore
I
it.
think it depends on your play style, really. If you're a very aggressive player, a vehicle or a plane that can control its speed a lot better is a lot more beneficial for you. So something that can sort of all around accelerate, decelerate, perform reasonably well at low speed, perform reasonably well at high speed, is a more all-rounded plane and a better one for more aggressive people. People who are a bit more measured in the way that they play tend to benefit the slightly more, I guess, purebred planes like the 15, which is a bit more niche, a little bit more harder to get used to, because the way you got to play the MiG 15 is with altitude. You got to play it with energy, and you've got to play it at low speed. If as soon as you deviate from that realm, it starts to become difficult, and you just start to absolutely fall apart. That's what I've gotten from experience. If there's anyone who wants to disagree, I'd be more than happy to see why. But personally, for me, I find that because I like playing aggressively, the MiG 17 is a lot better as an all-rounder for me.
I think I'm going to agree with that. The thing, from my own interpretation of my own gameplay, which is flawed already, but for me to say this, I think I prefer the plane that can get in, be aggressive, but as long as you know when to disengage, you can get out safely. Whereas in a Sabre or a MiG-15 is kind of the exact antithesis, where you're either in and you're riding, you're as aggressive as you can possibly be. And a saber, you're defensive flying, and you know you're straight in there. Or you're more measured and you're right on the outskirts. You're acting as support. You're either you're on one side of the fence or on the other. Whereas the MiG-17, you can kind of sit in the middle, and if you realize that you've done a stupid thing, you can get out. As in a saber, I think you can defensive fly the pants off of anyone. Whereas in a MiG-15, you're going to struggle if you don't disengage when you're supposed to. Whereas the MiG-17, if you're like, oh, time for me to go, and you will be capable of leaving that engagement. And I think that's why I like it more, is because I can get I'll go in, I'll get 1 kill, I'll get 2 kills, and I'll be like, fuck, I can take on the world right now. And I'll keep going, and I'll be a little bit too aggressive, and then I realize that I've got 4 SEAL-13s on me, time to go. and the MiG-17 is a lot more capable of recovering your own stupidity than the MiG-15 is. I think that's why I like that plane particularly more. K-Shep, just to answer your question, fly a squad.
Yeah,
that's the only advice I can give you for the 190s right now.
Well, he was asking me what's the any advice for the 190 that's not, generic base stuff like energy fighting, blah blah blah. Yeah, fly squad.
I think I despised the 190s because I didn't like the way I was forced to play them until I played in a squad with good old Donnie. And when I played, when we were playing together, and we were, proper teamwork for a couple of those matches. It was like we were a well-oiled machine for just a match or two there, just a couple of minutes of us kind of working together the way a duo should. Yeah. And in that exact moment, I would not have rather been in anything else. Yeah, so I can say that if you're in a squadron where you've got communication up between you, and you kind of can play the macro strategy game, the 190 all of a sudden becomes the most capable weapon on the battlefield.
I love them
especially considering that you can sort of distract people for a while. If you've got someone on your 6, that roll rate can really save you. So you'll just keep rolling, keep your speed up, obviously.
And keep kind of ever so slightly whittling them down in airspeed until your teammates can kind of
basically, yeah. And then you climb for altitude and do it again with another enemy. If you can get a boom and zoom on an enemy, I go for that preferentially. Don't intentionally put yourself in front of enemies' guns because that thing is not maneuverable. It's like a P-47 with a better roll rate and MG-151s.
The thing is, not anymore, though. Ever since it got a bit of a buff a couple of patches ago, it can turn with P-51s. It can...
Yeah, but why would you? Like, it's
you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to, but, if you're flying it correctly, you'll never have to, but...
Yeah, but
don't be too scared of what
you're talking about war hunting. Like, it is the meta is not exactly ideal. The BR spread is really the biggest problem.
A single boom and zoomer will really struggle to carry a match unless it's an exceptional.
We've got over 2,000. I think it was like 2,000 vehicles in War Thunder, and tiers 1 to 6. Yeah, and we need more battle ratings. That's we definitely do.
Perfect, really. If we just had, I think I would like to see that as a general thing.
I think we could extend tank battle ratings up to about 12.0, in all honesty, and then add planes. Kind of. If you guys have seen my channel for a while, you know that I was, before I stopped playing air battles, I was one of the biggest avid supporters of tier 6 jets that I know of. And I think they kind of slowly introduce planes like that, as long as they're not cluttering up the battle ratings and you can't fight them in a plane that will fight them.
I think the biggest issue for battle rating spread wise, for me, I feel like it's the jets. Apart from that, everything else is workable.
It works where it is currently. Just
if you wanted to optimize it, I eventually came to the realization of this. Basically, if you wanted to extend all the battle ratings all the way out, so that every tank was at its ideal battle rating, you would have an infinite number of battle ratings. Because each tank is slightly more capable of something than another one, and slightly less capable. It's just about how a player uses it as well. It's a bit like the P47.
Yeah, and it depends on playstyle. I mean, I had an argument with Orange a while back, probably about 8 or 9 months ago, about what was better, the Panther D or the Tiger H. And I'm a huge fan of the Tiger.
Mhm.
And you know, when I play it, it seems to be what I'd rather be in than a Panther. And yet, Orange is one of the most avid supporters of, you know, the Panther being one of the best and most
I think it's
capable.
because the vehicle is slightly more mobile.
It's more mobile and has a better gun, penetration-wise. So
It's quite
for
odd.
Orange, for Orange, that's his meta. That's the way he plays the game. He
Yeah,
plays with
yeah.
brutality and aggression. And if you want to play a little bit more measured, the Tiger is probably better.
Yeah.
Although it depends on what situations you want to put, because the Panther
Depends on
has
the
really
map.
big sides.
Depends on the map. Depends on, you know, what kind of fight you're going to be in. Depends on who you're fighting as well. Depends on, you know, which nation you're going up against.
I was talking to Copsy, and he said that he found that every time he got a map with hills, the T80, his games in T80s would just automatically result in a loss. But as soon as he got a game in an urban environment, his games would automatically result in a win. That's how much a single map can change a tank or a BR.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I've not kind of put this idea out there, but to have a modern city map.
I think that'd be cool, to be honest.
Well, we
I think it would
do
be really
have
amazing.
a more modern map. I believe our most modern map at the moment is, what is it, the Hitler-looking map. When you look at the mini-map, it looks like Hitler stash.
Middle
Hitler.
East.
Middle East, that's
Middle
the
East.
one.
Middle
And
East
then
is
the
great,
other
but I'm
newest
talking
one was what?
skyscrapers, high-rise buildings, and you know, like a 1985 city, like a 1985 New York, or
Right.
you know, 1985 kind of.
If I had
I don't know,
to...
like a city in the Middle East, a CBD in the Middle East, or something like that.
If I had to
I
think of a
that'll be
city
for a really good map.
that you could use for a map, I would think something like Dubai, where there's a lot of sand, but it's also a modern city with, you know, a river running.
I think that would be
be
really
nice to see
interesting
some
for the
alternate-
close air support argument as well.
Yeah.
It'd be very nice to see some more alternate history maps. Like, I mean, the American map looks pretty, but its playstyle is, I admit this, but it's utter garbage.
I think
It's
it's too
too
small.
flat.
I think that's the only problem with it.
I think it's
It is
Yeah.
flat, but it does break. I mean, I find I get Maginot Line too much, so I'm in the mood for a flat map sometimes.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And you know, I really like it. I'll be honest, but I think it is too small. I think it's far too easy for me to you know.
When I was
do
playing
a
the Lorraine,
light flank, if I can put it that way.
yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
I mean,
I find that it's a good map for like tiers 4, tiers 3, 4, tier 5, yes, early tier 6, yes, like T62,
Oh,
T10M.
T62 would be an absolute blast on that.
It's nice. Even the T54s, but as soon as you get to the MBT70 and the T64s, it just becomes a bit too much. That's where you need the slightly larger maps like Mozdok. Personally, I absolutely love Mozdok because I feel like it accommodates every single playstyle.
How
Sniping,
many
flanking.
like
Do you mean
maps
the
do we have that
dual
are
cap?
urban?
I mean
Like,
the
purely
3 cap
urban
one.
maps.
The 3
Purely
cap,
urban.
you know, kind of
Yeah,
one
like,
team
I know
spawns on the
there's
bottom left, the other team is on the top
Cologne.
right.
one...
I know there's like a couple of others, but
Oh, there's
You do
Berlin. Berlin, there's Advance to the Rhine. I guess if you want to count Stalingrad as urban.
We've
Yeah.
got Middle East. There's
Tunisia
Port Novo
can be-
isn't in rotation for top tier. I don't think. You've got
yeah,
Karelia,
but a lot
which
of
is a
these maps
close
aren't just
quarters
purely
map.
like urban. They've got like little parts of like how would you say, like
Little
openness.
settlements.
Yeah. I don't really
You've got
count that as
areas where
like
you're
dedicated like urban.
Yeah, I think
So
Gaijin's running that kind of 3-lane MOBA style map design where there's 3 major lanes that you run down, and then you can kind of just split off and go into these little areas. But the important areas are just there's always an urban, or there's sometimes always an urban area. Take Kursk for example, the kind of urbany, bushy area in the center of the map. You've always got a semi-urban/open area, and then you've always got a completely open area.
And then, yeah, depending on what kind of fight you're interested in getting into, you can facilitate that.
Yeah, but at the same
That's another reason.
at the same time, I feel, just personally, I feel like that's kind of a boring map design where because you always have to pick where you want to go. It's like, why can't there just be one kind of system and I can just go explore and get lost and come across someone and think, oh shit, I have to fight this person now.
Now,
That's one of the reasons I
wrong.
originally.
Italy is the map that I probably get more lost on than any other map, even though it's so small in terms of city width.
See, I love Italy because all the caps are kind of in the city. It's all urban for the most part. There's no cap that just sits out in the
Yeah,
open.
see, for the same reason I despise it.
Yeah, once you push through, you're basically in open fields. It's like you've got no cover. You've got to advance on those other people.
Yeah.
Like, what's to stop you from then having someone pop around the corner and get you from where you couldn't actually physically see because the map was too pretty and gorgeous to look at?
The thing is, on Italy, once you begin to lose, you're done. Once your team begins to falter, you're over. Because when you've got to approach the city from an open area, and the enemy team is all sitting behind, fences that you can't see through, but they can kind of scope you through, they're prepared for you to come to them, and they'll just sit, behind some cover where it's soft cover. You could shoot through it if you could see the bastards. But like, once your team begins to falter and you lose that kind of edge line between your spawn and the city itself, once you lose that edge, your team's over. And that's one thing I don't like, is typically, there's of course going to be exceptions, but typically you can't come back on that particular map. And I love that when we begin losing and then we end up, there's me and 4 players left on what was an 11-man team, and we steamroll. Like, those are some of my favorite matches in War Thunder, and I think a lot of people would agree, where you begin losing, you get a little bit stressed, and then you click, and it's like, you save the day. Like, it's like Rambo. It's insane.
Yeah. I can attest to steamrolling is one of the most fun things to do on War Thunder.
Do you think if you steamroll from the beginning, I kind of feel like
it's over,
oddly enough,
over too quickly.
When our team steamrolls from the beginning, I always feel like I should have done more.
Yeah.
Which is odd, because it's when you absolutely decimated. But I feel like, there are about 9 people that I could have killed and didn't. Like, I could have earned so much more from this game if I'd have just been in the right place at the right time. I would have gotten 5 more kills. But whereas a game where you begin, you fight over the middle, your team begins to position themselves where they're gonna play for the game and kind of in the area they're gonna play, and then you kind of jockeying for position over the map itself, over the capture points, and one team starts developing a lead, and then you start losing noticeably, and then 3 minutes later your team's back in the running. Like, that is really satisfying.
Yeah. Silence of Dragon's House, I've got a question. What would you guys think of a winter style of the Japan map? I would probably fall in love with that map, personally.
Not too sure how I feel about maps in War Thunder.
I mean,
I would,
as long as it's
I
not...
would go for that.
Oh, go ahead.
I would like to see Gaijin do a potential map voting system where they'll make a basic form of the map. The rendering might suffer significantly.
Yeah.
They might be using existing assets, whereas
The
eventually
concept of the actual map and whatever.
Yeah, a concept
the
map.
theme
And
of
we
it.
can play it in an event, and then after we've
yeah.
played it for a while, we can say, hey, look, do we like this map or do we not like this map? And if we don't like this map, then we don't spend further 100 more hours developing it to the quality.
And from the playtesting, they can
the
further
Americanism.
refine it to fit like multiple play styles or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, during the April Fool's event last year, I don't think many people really found the sniper spots on the Middle East map. Whereas now that we've had it in the game for months, we've found them, and we've been like, I can spawn camp 13 seconds out of the gate. This needs a slight bit of fixing. And I think Poland is the same, funnily enough, with the big lake in the middle, and you can snipe over those rocks. And originally they weren't there. Those rocks by the lake didn't exist. So only one team had a sniper spot by the lake, and the other team was just kind of left to hide.
I remember how that played out in Thunder League as well. I was actually talking to a couple of participants from the Thunder League, and they were saying that basically, if you controlled that hill, you controlled the match because you could snipe into their spawn very, very easily.
Before those rocks were there, and it's taken years for us to realize just how bad this is, and for Gaijin to be like, okay, yeah, it's significant enough now, and I think that's a sign of the meta changing. Like, sometimes I think a year ago, if you played War Thunder, it would be very, very different experience to what it is now, where everyone's aiming for your cannon breach.
Yeah.
People didn't do that a year and a half ago. Like, people in tanks would only aim for your cannon breach if you're both sitting there with no engine. Like, these days, it's the first shot that's coming anywhere near you is going straight into your breach.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. Like, I remember back in the day, you'd top in, I don't know, like a KV1 or something, if you're totally invincible. People would just constantly just shoot the angle over and over again. Nowadays, everybody kind of just aims for the breach now.
Yeah, a heavy tank is going to spend 95% of your time repairing. That's all that's happened to War Thunder. Like,
it's interesting you look at, on what you've just said about how the meta is changing. I'm still a veteran player. Like, many of us here are like old school fucking players. You remember the times when it was only people who played like RB, and it was only stingy people who played tanks. Back when tanks was in like early, and tanks weren't doing so well. But as the updates progressed, less and less people played RB. One of the meta shifts that I noticed was people predominantly just going after bombers and ground attackers. The whole bomber spam argument thing that's been going on for nearly 4 years now. 1.29 through to 1.31 is where we really saw bomber spam come into its own. I remember first starting a match, and you go into a realistic battle and be like, you're flying your B-25, and holy shit, that's a B-17. You form up on that bastard, he's going to keep you company. That motherfucker was as lethal as a Yak-9T, and
defensive guns were like an absolute wall you couldn't get past.
You were still afraid of like enemy fighters, because enemy fighters didn't want to go anywhere near you. But if they did and they hit you, it was even playing.
If you hoped that they were too scared to come in, but by the time they started coming in, that's when you thought, oh, I can't get by.
There was an event that changed the course of bombers in War Thunder, and while I appreciate their historical representation within War Thunder, which I think is important, I don't think the current game reflects the need to have them at any point in War Thunder, and that's sad for me to say as a bomber pilot who started off.
Same here. I adore bomber aircraft, but they don't. I think what we could have.
I can't remember. There was an event. I don't remember what it was for. I think it was bombing like targets or something. And the amount of B-17s out there and just American bombers in general. Holy hell!
You still see
the
ME-410. Where nobody plays Germany. Everyone plays America because you get to take out your B-25, P-47, and B-17, and that's the game. That's the meta. And if you want to play enduring conflict and you're not one of the first 14 people queuing up, you got to play Germany. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting in a queue for 3.5.
I think another thing there would be to make bomber hunters and ground attackers a lot more useful. So I find, personally for me, my sort of niche, I guess, is ground attack aircraft. I love close air support, and I really like going after pillboxes and stuff. Even if I just strap some rockets to my fighter and go ham, I'm perfectly happy to do that because that's my little thing. I like the idea of a bit more fluidity in combat, and I find that personally for me, bombers are very static and very sort of rigid in the way that they have to be played. With a ground attacker, certain things you can sort of rush in, grab a couple of pillboxes, pick up a fighter kill on the way out, and then go back to base and rearm, which is what I used to do in the IL-28. I used to use it as an attack bomber, and I found that quite enjoyable. But one of the things that I noticed was there wasn't that much for it to do apart from nailing pillboxes. And now that they've removed the reticle, it's extremely hard to do that. And
See,
so,
I used to do
Yeah.
the same with the Voltor. When the Voltor was kind of first added, that's how I grinded out my for it, because those 30mm belts can rip pillboxes to shreds. And I'd get 11 pillboxes down before anyone could catch up to me to kill me. And that was when ground pounding can work and you're not just cannon fodder. It's so much fun. And you feel like, this is not to not to portray myself as the greatest historian here, but in World War II, ground units were the main purpose of, the main objective for aircraft. Fighter on fighter battles were rare.
Few and far
I mean,
between.
for the sake of
Unless you're talking about like Japan,
dogfight.
which is
Yeah, but it's like dogfights for the sake of dogfights were very rare. It's mostly it would be one team with a, going after, P-47s going after a column of tanks and 190s coming in to stop them, and the purpose was the ground battle. The aircraft were there to facilitate and support, not to be the reason you were there.
yeah.
There would rarely be fighters fighting against other fighters with nothing else happening. Either there'd be a bomber squadron or ground targets that needed supporting. Something else was the main focus. The fighters were there through happenstance, almost.
The fighters seem to be, well, obviously, a fighter is for air superiority, and bombers and ground attackers are for ground superiority. End of the day, you will need to land, and you will need something to sort of support the fighter, which is the ground. So the ground is the main objective, because the plane can't stay up there forever. And what you tend to find is that the ground attackers will sort of go for that objective, and the fighters will be there to support. So I remember reading I think it was I was reading the biography of Douglas Bader, who was the legless World War II air ace. He was a Spitfire pilot, and a couple of years before the war, he'd lost his legs, and he was accepted as a fighter pilot, and he was pretty good at it. But from reading him, I found that a lot of the times there would be the Spitfires and the Hurricanes would go up to intercept the Heinkel 111s and the Dorniers, and they would also always be accompanied with they'd almost always be accompanied by fighters, and so they would have one company go off to fight the BF-109s, and then they would have others to engage the Heinkels and the Dorniers. And that's what a fighter really does. The meta is sort of should be, if you want to take it from history, the meta should really be built around the ground, and the fighting should be sort of secondary. But in War Thunder, it seems to be the other way around.
I feel like that's why people have kind of grown towards close air support in tank battles, where you can take a strike fighter, go and search for some tanks to bomb, support your team, maybe spot some targets using your machine guns, and then whoop, okay, there's an LA7 for me to deal with. Go and deal with him, and then some idiot might spawn in the Heinkel 111 trying to use a Fritz X bomb on a tank, and you go and deal with that, and then you go back to attacking ground targets, and your role is ever changing.
It's fluid.
Whereas, and I think realistic enduring confrontation is also one of the better ways, one of the better places you can see this, and people have been saying this ever since confrontation was a thing. Why is this is the perfection of ARB? This is like ARB has assumed its final form right here. You see more of a reason for these aircraft like a B-25 or a Yak-4, or a Peshka 3 or a Year 2. There's a lot more of a reason A, to fear these aircraft, these units, and B, to take them out. So
that's quite true.
Yeah.
You've got a long-lasting objective, which is score 150,000 points, and every second the points are going up by like 300 or 400. So it's like you're going to take a long time, and you're going to want to do that as efficiently as possible. You take out a bomber. Whoop! Enemy team has 9 fighters and 1 bomber. I'm in a lot of danger. No matter how many times I keep spawning this in, I'm just a broken record here. I'm gonna get to the objective. You then take out a fighter and try and deal with some of them, and then come back and bomb.
There was a point in time when you could spawn in multiple aircraft. Well, not multiple aircraft, I should say. You could have more than just the limited 4 bombers a team. I have videos up on my channel, which are relatively popular, of myself and Weeby, ironically, doing like 8 or 9-man formations in Ju-88s.
Yeah.
And going off to bomb an airfield and just having an absolute fun. I do miss that. I understand why they limited the to 4 bombers, because I mean, you look at stuff like, for instance, the flying boat, the German one, the BV, or the TU4. You imagine a team of like 8 TU4s. I mean, I think that's the reason why they implemented the.
That is the sole.
It came in when the TU4. Yeah.
Everyone, I love how everyone was complaining about the TU4 because it had 23s everywhere, but no one remembers the original Death Star.
The B-29,
G8N1.
G8N1.
Yeah, the G8.
Oh.
The B-17 first up, and then the G8M1 was just 20 mils.
The G8N1, the OG, terrifying aircraft.
And then the H8K when that first came in. The H8K was hilarious.
I remember I was flying with Jim Chamberlain, and I was in my Corsair, and he was in his H8K3, and he was absolutely destroying, and I was sort of flying around trying to support him. It was a bit of a boat, and it did get sort of set on fire quite easily. But my God, the armament on that thing was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
It just.
I think, to be fair, bombers do play like big ass boats.
No.
I think the thing is, I made a video on this back when my channel was new, like brand new. I think I had about 70 subscribers at the time. And basically what I said was, a bomber in War Thunder is very similar to an aircraft carrier in World of Warships. Either you're overpowered or you're worthless. So either you're winning the game, and then the fighters, no matter who's winning the fighter battle, the team who bombs the airfield wins the game. So it doesn't matter if their team has done so much work and they've been really good at the game and they've done really, really well. They're going to lose because of someone who was at 8.5 kilometers and they didn't bother going for, because it wasn't intelligent of them to target that as a priority, and then you win the game. However, if you don't finish off that airfield, you might as well not have been there. It doesn't matter how many mini bases you bomb, how much damage you do to the airfield. Until you win, you're just subtracting a player from your team.
Although you do have to take into account the utility that you're using to drain tickets. Because at the end of the day, if the battle draws out, it could be tickets that decide it. And I have had several battles like that where the enemy team has just put us at such a disadvantage, especially with the AD4, where we've gone up
the
climbing.
AD4 is just
I think I can remember back at that time. It was about a year ago now. I was in a B-29. And there was someone in an A26 Invader. This is before the A26 was publicly available in the tech tree or as a premium. There was only the gift variant, and that was it. So I'm going bombing the mini bases, which start subtracting tickets from the enemy team. I didn't even touch the airfield. I bombed the 3 bases, and the A26 got, I think it was on Norway, and the A26 kills a few destroyers, and we win on tickets. But the thing is,
do you remember the Year 2? The Year 2 is the medium bomber choice. Yes. Arcade. You drop all your bombs on the enemy bases. The Year 2 was the reason why they added those little mini bases. And I wish they'd do more with the little mini bases. Maybe a railway station or a ball bearing factory, like actual units, and have a mission rotation system in place on specific maps that has different objectives on the same map. So say you get Ruhr twice in a row. Well, one version of Ruhr will have you bombing an airfield a forward airfield, for example, to stop them, resupplying, or
I like that.
maybe
I
a,
really like
a railway station in the other version.
Yeah.
See,
Something interesting that'll
If you
make the map a little different, because you can predict where everyone flies. All the fighters go this way and all the bombers go that way because all the ground
Yeah.
units are over in that direction. It's boring.
The thing I don't like about that idea, it's a good idea. Straight up, I feel like there should be more variety here, but it doesn't fully solve the issue because you still got the fact that, until you win, in which case all the fighters in the battle, no matter how much work they've done, they're pointless. They're just there to gain RP and lines for themselves. If you don't win on fighters and you win on tickets or on bombers, it makes the fighter battle redundant. But if the fighters win before the bombers can, at low tier, you can't finish off the airfield in one pass. No matter, you could have 4 BB-238s on your team, and you can't bomb out all 3 bases and completely finish the airfield in one. You got to go back and rearm. At least somebody has to. So, until you manage to do that, you might as well not have been in the game at all. The idea that I had, kind of branching off of yours, Ash, is that maybe AI, like vehicle columns, could repair an airfield. So therefore, ground attackers have as much purpose in the game as bombers do, because they've got to kill those vehicle columns. Otherwise, the bombers' work that they've just done killing that airfield is pointless.
Yeah,
Because it's just going to get repaired again. So then, you spawn, and I like the idea of respawns in ARB. I'll straight up say that. I'm one of those people that's like, I would love respawns in ARB. I think the enduring competition, that's the best part I like about it. I think the maps are huge, and not everyone wants that. And I think the matches end up being 25 bots and 3 players. But the fact that you can take out a different vehicle per what the game requires really just makes that game mode for me. And it's one of the reasons I play tank battles and don't really play air battles anymore, is because in tank battles, especially at lower tier, like we were saying before with the 5.7 German lineup, if there's a particular map where my go-to tank is the Waffenträger. When there's other maps, I'm like, okay, it's Panther time. And then there's certain maps where I'm just like, I am not taking out anything but the Tiger right now. And then there's certain maps where close air support is more useful, and certain maps where certain types of vehicles are insane. I remember taking out the Warrior into top tier simulator battles, and I prefer to be in the Warrior than in the Challenger. The Warrior was so much fun, and I was slaughtering Soviet tanks left, right, and center, where I was thinking, if I was in a Challenger in a main battle tank, like, I couldn't do this. The game requires dynamic thinking per the vehicle that you're in and per the way the match is going.
Mm-hmm.
In air battles, you don't get that. So, like,
I think
a
it's just
bomber,
because it's all team deathmatch. That's how it's been focused.
yeah, which
Been
is
that
one
way
of,
for 5 years. So
I mean, that's one of the reasons I originally played arcade battles and sometimes go back to arcade. It's because, if we've got a huge ticket advantage, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to take out a fighter now because I don't want the match to end just yet. However, if we're completely losing on tickets, I can be like, okay, screw my, fighting right now. I'm going to take out a ground attacker, go kill an entire line of tanks, and then jump back into the fighter afterwards. And I can do that because I get the opportunity. And I think with the idea I was saying before, with, like a column of vehicles that would repair bases that have been bombed or would repair airfields, you were saying, like, it's not just bomb 3 bases, then bomb the airfield. Like, an airfield could be one of the options you have to bomb immediately. Like, a factory could be another, and a dock could be another. And once...
Oh, go for it.
Once you've bombed them, if an AI column comes to repair them, the bomber pilot can then go back to base, J out, spawn a B-25 or a light bomber or a strike fighter, and go and kill the vehicle columns. And then it's kind of... The only problem I see with this so far is that no matter what the bombers and attackers are doing, fighters are not going to notice until the game's over. That's the one thing I want to avoid, is that fighters see no difference. When you go and bomb all 3 mini bases or you bomb 1 and die, fighters on your team don't care either way.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how successful you are in the game, either you're just -1 player or you ended the game before they, before it went either way based on the fighter battle. So bombers are really difficult. And I think it was the Mighty Jingles that said, with carriers and World of Warships, he was saying, you're playing chess while everyone else is playing, a shooter game. Like you're in a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main issue, is that fighters don't notice what you're doing on the back. And I don't even know how this could be changed, but I'd like to see a way of involving bombers' objectives into fighters' engagements.
I
Yeah.
reckon you could add 3 respawns, and and it could be similar to tanks where you have 1 respawn per crew slot, or you could go for up to 2, which is personally what I would prefer. And then you could just go with, let's see, you have 2, so you have like say 1 fighter and 1 ground attacker, or 1 fighter and 1 heavy bomber, and then you pretty much go from there, where the bombers would be viable because they're attacking targets that can be can be sort of influential to the way that the tickets drain. In that, say there's a set number of pillboxes, and all 3 bases are spawning tanks, but they're light tanks, they're really quick, and so the tanks will reach the battlefield in 5 minutes, or say they're in an army encampment or something like that, and they have some sort of viability where they can influence the battle significantly. But if you take them out, that will give you a massive advantage. And it also makes stuff like bomber interceptors a lot more viable as well. Because stuff like the Dornier 335, apart from finding a B-17 that it can shoot down, is nigh useless. Even the 410s. Unless you can find a stupid fighter or a P-61, you're pretty much useless.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, these are vehicles that should be really respected. I mean, like the ME-410. This should not be a vehicle that you sit there and go, huh, look at that idiot who doesn't understand how ARB works. Like, these are vehicles that should command respect. I think it was Napalm that said the same thing about 8.0 jets. Things like the Oregon for the French, which is practically worthless. Or to pick one, the 262C1A, which is
Also
nigh
worthless.
untouched anymore.
I almost laughed when you said 262C1A, because that's how much of a fucking joke it is.
It's 262 A1A.
I mean, you've got things like what else exists at 8.0?
It's the same with the leopards, though. It's
Yeah, the Leopard 1, A1, 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 A1.
It's like, why don't you just call it Leopard AAA so we can call it battery sizes?
Why can't we have a Leopard B? Like, why is Germany allergic to the letter B?
The Canadians have the is it the Leopard C1?
You've got the C1, the C2.
They're happy
Leopard C1, C1,
Yeah.
R2, D2, you know?
They're happy to do C's and
it
stuff,
happens again.
and poor B getting missed out.
It's like, why could Germany not just be like Leopard 1, Leopard 1A, Leopard 1B, Leopard 1C, Leopard 1D, Leopard 1E? Like,
Why couldn't they do
I know
it
there's
the
a reason,
superior British
but it
way?
annoys me.
Leopard Mark 1, Leopard Mark 2, Leopard Mark 3, and mod, or like the Russians, they go with mods.
Yeah, or you
Challenger
could just,
1
or you
Mark
could just have
3, Challenger
complete-
1 Mark... Yeah.
or you could have a complete name for it, like Leopard, and then it would be like, I don't know. I mean, Germany went with all the cats. They could be like, I don't know, Weasel. No, they had that. That's a thing.
Yeah, thanks.
They used all the animals. There's nothing left. But they had like the Tiger Bee, or the Tiger 2 to us.
Yeah.
I think it just comes in a historical... It's like, yeah, they've used cats for most of their
They don't have a lion.
nicknames.
don't they?
Oh, how badly
No,
I
they
want the lion
did
in
have
game.
a lion. It was a napkin drawing.
How
about-
insanely I want the lion in game.
With the
Please, Gaijin, make it happen. I am desperate for the lion in game.
What, like the IS-7? Yeah.
I mean, maybe
No.
not quite as cancerous of an event to get it, but like,
I
mean,
had
put it in like the
IS-7 on the second
LA-174.
day.
Put it in like the LA-174, a limited time grindable.
I think that's
I don't
what the 10.2, 10.5 King Tiger will be. A limited once.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I would love to see the lion. I mean, it'd be stupid because Gaijin's at the moment being like, Panther 2 not historical enough, getting the axe. Next minute, by the way, guys, did you know we have an American Desert map coming out?
Alternative history. It's alternative in the sense that it's a real life location, but it's alternative battle sense. Still alternative history, Gaijin. Come on.
What else does War Thunder have to add? Like, we've got bigger capital ships and we've got submarines.
Give me my damn carriers.
Of course, tier 6 jets and some more helicopters. But aside from those 5 things, what's left? Italian tanks?
I mean, Swedish tech tree.
What else? Like, yeah, we can have a new tech tree. We can have new vehicles, but what's going to be new within the game?
I think
apart from the new shinies,
they're going to hit a point.
I would like to see game modes. Yeah,
they're going to hit a point where there's really not much that you can add. Like they could throw in more World War II stuff. They could go backwards to World War One. They could always hit off up the train and do more.
We have like 25 British tanks that need adding like stat.
But I think
because Britain has 1 scout vehicle and it's at 8.0.
I think what they're going to do down the line. This is just a theory of mine, is that they'll do less vehicles, but they're also going to bring in, maybe a new game mode, or they're going to do a half a patch of bug fixes or content fixes or whatever. Or they might juggle things around, try something new. I'm not entirely sure yet.
But one thing I would love to see if Gaijin adds submarines into naval battles is anti-submarine helicopters.
Huh.
I'd give a kind of more immersive warfare aspect to that side of things.
That might make the Mullins Mosquito really nice. I mean, it was only used to disable them.
The Russians had a lot of like naval helicopters, specifically to drop depth charges.
They did.
Oh, I'm keen.
I mean, I'd love to see U-boats.
I would love to see submarines.
Like, try it as an event. Like, this is the thing with Gaijin, is just because you tease something doesn't mean you have to add it. Like, try something and it doesn't work, and then because Gaijin said a while ago that they were doing internal tests for tier 6 jets, and they were like, this is not working out so well. We probably won't develop this further. And then 6 months later, there's still discussion about it. So clearly that fell through the floor. But I was like, Gaijin, I sent them an email. I said, do you reckon you could invite a select amount of content creators to play tier 6 jets as they are in your current internal testing and see what we think about it? And then we can tell people in our videos, hey, the guidance says they're not working, here's why. Guys, like, stop asking because we've tried it and yeah, they're right, it's not fun. Or we can say, hey, look, keep pushing because we played it, we had a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trying things out, and it might not work, and you might have to be like, yeah, we just put in 3 weeks of work for nothing because we can add this, it doesn't work. But surely that's better than letting the game kind of... I'm not going to say War Thunder's dying, because it's not.
It's not.
But we don't want to let the updates begin to stagnate. And this is the problem I've been seeing recently, where every update...
Everything else is just not, it's just another vehicle, or it's just another... we've got so many Spitfires in the game.
I mean, I noticed...
No.
Hey, you can never get enough Spitfire.
I'm just saying, like,
about 6 months ago, compared to 2 years ago, where every update would have about 7 new vehicles, and these days every update has about 17 new vehicles, but they're all one type.
People still complain that there's not enough.
The thing is,
it's either a lot of vehicles for one particular purpose, like for instance, their focus is naval with 1.8. I think we're up to 3. Or is it 4? I don't know. I'm confused. This patch dropped sooner than it should have.
That's just the way
it's very confusing.
I can remember the first ever War Thunder YouTube video I made was the day 1.57 released. This was on an old channel. I didn't do this on as the Scottish Koala. It was the day 1.57 release, and this was when ATGMs were released into the game. And that was, of course, there were 4 of them, I believe. There was the Sheridan, the Swingfire, the IT-1, and the Raketen Jagdpanzer 2.
I think the Swingfire was later. Yeah, the Swingfire was later.
Yeah, the Swingfire definitely was later.
Yeah,
everyone was complaining the British didn't have an ATGM.
I think I was I was part of that.
I mean, I had only started playing tanks in 1.55. Like that, I can remember. I first grinded out the M4, the first M4 in the tech tree when I heard that the Sheridan was being announced. I began my tank grind, and look at me now. I cover nothing but tanks. When 1.57 came out, I basically said, besides ATGMs, which I'm not going to cover, because like I've only just started playing tanks. I said in that video, I think it got about 4 views, and I basically said we've got 3 vehicles I'm super interested in this patch, and it was the Dornier 335 and its variants, the Sunderland, and the P61.
I remember.
And that was half the update. That was literally half the update. Like, there wasn't much else besides that. There really were 10
You're right,
vehicles
actually.
tops being added per patch. But they were all
used to
different.
trading us.
They were all different vehicles. I mean, you've got a 5.7 German bomber hunter, tank destroyer, heavy fighter, whatever you want to call it. You've got a British landship, or not landship. You've got a British, like, airship.
Yeah, flying boat.
Like a flying AA base, basically. And then you've got an American mid-tier heavy fighter, a really unique aircraft in the P61. With it, you know, the way its turret worked was new. We hadn't seen that before, and the way, actually, I can't remember, but basically it was very unique vehicles that were being added, and then there was ATGM carriers at the same time. The Sheridan, the Drake, and the Raketen Jagdpanzer.
Oh.
There was more difference to the patch, even though we had less vehicles. It's like recently we've been getting 20 vehicles a patch, but a lot of them kind of fade into the background. Like we had an entire British naval tech tree just come out. How many vehicles are in the British Navy tree? There's got to be close to 30.
Yeah, I would say
And
30.
like literally half of them are fair miles, but let's not go there.
Famble Hills, dark motor torpedo boats, or tribal class
and
destroyers.
the Nepal, which is apparently not an Australian ship anymore, because Gaijin
No, it's not.
forgot the A.
More like Nepal, more like Nepaling.
I
That
mean,
was terrible.
Yeah, you really got that one.
yeah, that could have been
never
better.
said I never said
But like, we've got a shit ton of vehicles right here, and then we got. Did we get a plane? I don't even fucking know. We got the German helicopter tech tree, and you know we got 2 entire tech trees this patch, and then last patch we got 2 entire tech trees in the American and Russian helicopter trees. A brand new type of vehicle, but that really, like in our minds, that was just one thing: helicopters. And this, you know, at the moment, I think most people have kind of naval forces isn't doing so well. I've got to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's doing better now than it was, you know, when it first released.
This is
when
what
tech trees
everyone, I
first-
assume, was expecting War Thunder's naval would be, but it wasn't there, and it's, to me, not to jab at Gaijin at all, but it feels like, oh, everyone didn't like our, you know, suggestion of, you know, patrol boats and things, because everyone was wanting bigger ships, right?
Yeah.
And that was basically everyone wants to play the Yamato and the Bismarck and whatever. But, you know, I just think the community, the hype for naval died. Back when
I
the
think it
announcement
spent
of the...
too long in. It spent too long in alpha access.
Yeah.
But you do understand why. Like, it was...
Oh, I understand
plagued
why.
with issues.
Yeah. Oh, you know, completely. But I think by the time things were sorted, the hype is dead. And the same is true for World War mode. Every time Gaijin sends me an email, every time World War mode apparently opens up, and I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. Go online, there's 0 battles happening. I was like, yeah, no, it's not. But like, I think it was a cool idea, and Fly did like 2 or 3 videos on this. And then originally everyone was like, this could be really, really awesome, and this could set War Thunder apart completely as a game. You know, World of Tanks doesn't have this. You know, there's a couple of other games like Ice Storm. I think it's Ice Storm. Doesn't have anything like this, but this is something to set War Thunder apart. And then by the time by the time it's ready, it's dead. It's dead before it's even begun. And I think one thing to compare it to is Star Citizen, where there's when that game was first kind of being shown as a new thing, everyone was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to come in my pants. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life."
Yikes, he's in there.
And then-
Christ.
But what is it like 6 years later? Where is it? It's by the time they're done with it, it's already dead. And I think that's what Naval Forces is going that way. Where it's not done yet because we don't have a Japanese tree, we don't have an Italian tree, a French tree.
Well, we've
only
individual Italian and Japanese units, but we don't have like we've seen one Japanese vessel, we've seen 2 Italian vessels. We haven't seen anything for the French. That's right, they scuttled it, so they don't need a navy.
I mean,
Did you guys see
Yeah,
the leaked thing of the Prinz Eugen in the files?
Wait a
Yes, I
fucking
did see
minute,
that.
what?
There was a post.
The Prince Eugen.
I'll see if I
Eugen
can
is
find
in-
the thing, but there was a post about how there was Prinz Eugen things in files. Who did I post it to? That's
So
in the
that is
I mean-
your light capital ship. It's not your heavies or anything like that. So
I
could this
I
be a
would
new
like
direction?
to see. If we're talking about naval forces, I would like to see a
Hopefully they
better balance between. See, I think I said this until. How am I going to phrase this? I asked Gaijin, "Hey, look, can I have access to naval forces?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't get a destroyer. Everyone else who played naval forces started with a destroyer and then started grinding their way through the tech trees, but they played their destroyer. So I
we
began
got given
with
access.
the
We didn't get destroyers.
yeah,
That's fine.
I began grinding out with the light Schnellboot. And I was like, okay, low tiers is just SBA on water. It's just what naval forces always was in the past. It's just a bunch of boats going around with rapid fire cannons. You hold click until someone sinks. Until you get to high tiers when light craft are non-existent. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. This is the complete opposite of what the work on naval forces was supposed to achieve.
Yeah.
Where we can balance light craft and heavy, capital vessels together. So that light craft having, be the sneaky assassin type, and then the heavy, the destroyers and the light cruisers go in and wreck the shop. But now we just got low tier is SPA on water, and high tier is just, you might as well be
It's
bunkers
basically
firing at each
tanks
other.
with borrowed World of Warships physics in terms of
Yeah,
gun aiming.
Yeah. I mean, I still despise the gun aiming of naval forces, but I know that some people are like, okay, it's improved to the point where I like it now, but I don't like it because I came from World of Warships. And I think one thing naval forces needs is for the aiming to be more difficult but more responsive.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's like
And the automatic
you-
gunners need to have a limited distance because it seems like they will see something behind an island that you won't be able to see at all.
I was going to say, it's the
Getting
best
across the
spotting
map,
you've
it's like,
got.
oh,
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Look, there's a Schnellboot coming to kill me from behind here with torpedoes. Well, I can whip him out in literally half a shot before he actually gets anywhere close to me. So
I
I think
do find though that some clever Schnellboot players will tend to fire their torpedoes off and disappear before you've even seen them.
Yeah.
Oh,
they'll-
I played, I think it was the S100 1945 on Screezilla's stream, actually. And it was when Naval Forces was, I think it was the last naval test. Or it might have been the day Tech Trees released, I can't remember. But, no, it was the last test, because it was when the hydrofoils were first available to play, and everyone could play them. And I think it was an S100. The waves were huge, and it was the best fun I'd had in game in a while. Because literally just sailing your vessel was a challenge because the waves were so big you could capsize yourself, and sailing near an island, you'd wreck your ship or your boat. You had to be really, really careful. You had to take into account, how am I angled to the waves, because if I angle side on, I'm going to roll my boat over. I'm going to die. I think it was really bad weather. Visibility was really low. And in a Schnellboot, when it assassinated 5 destroyers and a light cruiser. And I think I killed 1 light Schnellboot on the other team because mixed battles. And it was one of the best experiences I've had in War Thunder in the last 5 years. Which is really weird because then, literally days later, Tech Trees were released, I begin grinding, and I'm just like, oh. Was I high? Like, I don't understand. I'm at a loss to explain it because I don't understand where my own enjoyment went because it's the same game. I don't want to rag at Gaijin because Gaijin's put a lot of work into the Naval Forces trees. Looking at the fact that we have tech trees now, I mean, it looks fantastic to look at. You know, we've got a Jaguar for the Germans and you know, the Albatross. We've got the PGH in the American tech tree. Like, just looking at these things is amazing. Like, can you remember when Fly uploaded a video before the B-29 was introduced to War Thunder? That's how old it was.
Oh,
Talking about, like, the future of different tech trees. I think Fly had, like, 35,000 subscribers at the time.
Come on.
Holy shit.
And basically what he was saying was, like, I'm going to have a nerdgasm about War Thunder ships and submarines. And this was back in the day. This was before tanks existed in game. This was Pony Air Force days. Like, we got so hyped up about this. I don't want to rag on Gaijin too heavily, but I think they have completely failed at doing the thing the closed beta was meant to do, which was find a way of balancing lightcraft and heavycraft together. Because at the moment, I can see it until you get to rank 3, nothing is like above SPAA on water, or very few. Very few. You've got to grind through like 10 ships, which are just SPA on water, before you get to something that is a capital ship.
Yeah.
There is still.
And with every patch, they add. With every patch, they add a couple new things. Like they've restructured some of the tech trees, putting the flak ferries and the barges, the artillery barges, into, you know, they've reorganized some things. They've added some new ships. I don't think there's. How can I put this? I think smaller craft are more fun to play in destroyer battles. It's like you take out an Emden cruiser, you're at 5.0. There's nothing below 4.0 that you're going to see unless people have artificially updated it. So you're going to be fighting an entire team of other cruisers and destroyers, and nothing smaller than that. And in World of Warships, that's okay because you have battleships and aircraft carriers. So you've got 4 different types of vessels, and perhaps in the next year we'll have submarines as well. But in War Thunder, for you to even see anything like a torpedo boat, people have to have artificially uptiered it. And I think there's certainly a precedent for that. Like I said in my Warrior video, you know, this is going to be just as effective a vehicle at 10.0 as it will be at 8.0. Like, keep it in your lineup as long as you can.
As long as you get torpedoes, it's fine.
I think like these boats are more than capable of dealing with destroyers when you know how. And I think I'd love to see more weather effects because, like I said, that one match I played in the very last closed test before tech trees came in was one of the most fun experiences I've had, and certainly more fun than any World of Warships game I ever played. Yeah. Like, I was like, okay, this is the shit. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. I'm taking a Schnellboot out and I'm just assaulting destroyers that can't even hope to see me. This is what we've been waiting for the past 3.5 years. And then tech trees get released, and all of a sudden I'm like, low tiers are exactly what Naval Forces were the first test they ever did. It was just SPA on water. And high tiers are just destroyers and cruisers.
I do think though that part of the meta is you got some part that's a bit like SPA on water, but then as soon as you start getting into the sub chasers and the motor gunboats and stuff with cannons, it starts to become a little bit more, a little bit better, I would say. You start to see where everything sort of fits in that little triangle. You know how the Orange Doom used to talk about this triangle of tank, SPAA, and close air support? It's a little bit like that, and I can see that with submarines coming in. And I do not doubt for a second that we will get submarines.
Oh, I would love to see submarines.
Especially considering that the Japanese and the Germans used submarines extremely heavily.
Goodbye 400.
I mean, swordfish versus U-boat. Like, anyone not want that?
And this will also encourage depth charges for aircraft.
Well, not only that,
and you know, anti-sub helicopters.
Yes, give me. Oh, the Neptune! I really want to see the Neptune. I've sat in that thing in real life, and it's just big, beautiful thing, and it's got two F2H engines
Jeez.
with the turboprop engines. It's this massive thing, and it just drops depth charges, bombs, torpedoes, sonar buoys. The possibilities are endless. You can muck around with like spotting mechanics or like distance detection, proximity detection mechanics, sonar. Like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
And all Gaijin has to do is just
patrol
start.
aircraft.
The Lincoln was it the Lincoln that was no the Avro Shackleton. That's it.
Shackleton,
That's
yeah.
right.
And
That's
like the what is it? There's things like the German Dornier 26, which I think I can't remember if it was a Dornier 26. I know there's a Blohm Voss plane, one of the 300,000 Blohm Voss weird looking prototypes, that was only used for dropping depth charges, and we could have that in the game.
That would be awesome.
Like just vehicles. I would like to see more dynamics to naval forces.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying. Whereas like having your light attack craft and your torpedo boats, your really small torpedo boats, at the same battle ratings as destroyers and light cruisers would be really cool, because you'd be like, okay, I've got, a few torpedo boats in front of me. I've got a team of, a squadron of torpedo boats. I've got destroyers off to my left that I can go and support and kind of stick with them until they kind of get a little bit close to an island, and then I've got some support, and then I dash past the island, go around and kind of assassinate the enemy destroyer from behind, and then dip back into cover and maybe open fire on a couple of torpedo boats on the enemy team. You've got so many different things that you can do depending on how you want to play. And I think for all its faults, especially people have brought this up, like ARB is kind of the same. Like you can choose to be a bomber hunter, especially like the Dornier 3, where you're gonna see like 9 B-17s. Like you can assume that role if you want to. You can assume the role of a support fighter if you want to. You can assume the role of a ground attacker if you want to. Whereas in ships, everyone kind of does the same thing, because there's only really 2 types of vehicles. Like you've either got your torpedo boats and really, really light gunboats and slightly heavier gunboats, like if I can just take one example from the British tree, the Brave class, or some of the later Fairmile models. And those are the only 2 types. And then you kind of level up one, and you've got those heavier gunboats and destroyers. And then you level up one more where you've got destroyers and cruisers.
And then you get the Project 159, and that throws everything out the water. Dude, that thing is the most disgusting piece of shit ever.
The Russian subchaser.
It's insane, that thing.
This thing is an awesome looking vehicle as well. I'm just going to point that out.
It's just,
and it's like
it's
the Albatross.
I think it is the Albatross. Is it? No, it's
the German Type 143, which is a 1976 fast attack craft. And this thing, oh boy, you remember when it was first added and everyone was like, oh my god, this is the most overpowered thing in War Thunder. Like, this is the worst case of imbalance in the game. And the thing is, you put it up to 5.0 with cruisers, and it wouldn't be any less powerful, because none of them have that much armor.
Yeah.
They've only got like 2 inches of armor, tops.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, even with, a really small ship, I can still fire straight through them like a hot knife through butter. So, like, why is this not at a higher tier? This could be just as effective, if not more, at a higher tier.
It is still the closed beta. So we still have a really, really big say in this. And that does remind me, anyone who is watching this and is in the closed beta, was in the closed beta, or is in the open beta right now, make sure you make your thoughts known. Don't be a cunt, though. Be civil. Go to Reddit, go to the forums, go make your YouTube videos, do what you need to do.
Especially the naval section of the War Thunder forum.
There are so many ways to get to the devs, and they do listen. It doesn't seem like it, but they do listen.
They really do.
We're so far from being done right now, and everyone, like, Gaijin knows that. Gaijin's looking for what they can do on this. It's like, Gaijin knows that we're not done yet. Gaijin doesn't think they're done yet. This is still a work in progress, and there's still room for us to say, hey, how about this? Try this. give this a shot. And if it doesn't work, we've got this as a fallback. We can go back to this and try again in a different direction. I just want to see more trial, which will come hand in hand with more error, but we've got room for that. I think as a community, we're okay with Gaijin trying something, putting a lot of work hours into something that they just say, sorry, not going to work.
Yeah.
I think it would suck because it'd always be the, like 500 people in the entire community that are like, well, I actually really enjoyed that. But I think, it's like those... I can remember having this conversation with Frayne. He basically said, I despise small tank maps and I love the big open ones. I was like, dude, what? What is wrong with you? And he was talking to me about why and how he plays the game and why that kind of fits what he enjoys better. And I was like, okay, I'm coming around. And I think him and I together would make a really sick-ass squadron because, one person going into a section and being like, okay, I enjoy the really close quarters bit, and then him sitting there sniping and getting the ranging down, and I think it's good to have that mix.
Yeah.
It's like some people enjoy very different aspects about this game, and no matter what Gaijin tries, someone's gonna be like, I like this, and someone's gonna say, I hate this.
That's why one of the issues with the game is that there is no one way to do things, and because of that, there is no one way to fix things that will make everyone happy. It's like it's not quite as clear cut as a game like Rainbow Six, where for those of you that play, you may know the Operator Lion, which has a drone that can basically detect movement when it's active. It only gets 2 charges, but it can essentially suppress any movement and any roaming, which is used to defend the site, like your bomb sites or whatever. And in tournament battles, it's almost always banned as an operator. And the way there is like a simple way to there is a simple way to fix it, which is like, I won't go into details, but in War Thunder there is no one way to fix something. If it has such a deep impact on the meta, there's a million different ways to fix it that will benefit everyone. And it's really, really hard to find that fine line, because it's incredibly difficult for Gaijin to find that really close that close distinction. There's a very fine distinction between overdoing it and not doing it enough. Especially considering that there are so many people that play this game radically differently to everyone else. Like, Frayne likes to go in and sit at the back of the map. Maybe not sit at the back of the map, but sit in a
enjoys that aspect of the game.
Yeah. But there's no way to say, for example, battle ratings is something we can universally agree on. There's no way to concretely fix BRs, if you want to put it that vaguely. There's no one way to do it, and there's no concrete way to do it that will make everyone happy. And that's what we've got to realize. There's no... I think it was you, Ash. You made a video on why War Thunder will never be fixed, but I think my personal take on that, on that statement, why it'll... Oh no, maybe it was Chicken. Maybe
that was chicken. Yeah,
it was Chicken. Sorry, my bad. My personal take on that is because there is no one definition of fixed. Like, for me, I like to be in a moderately aggressive environment, but somewhere where I can flank. So I need a little bit of open space. I don't like to brawl as much, and I don't like to sit at the back of the map and snipe. I'm literally in between Koala and Frayne. So there is no one solution that will make all three of us happy. Because if Frayne wants to fight at large distances, he'll fight at large distances. And that'll put Koala at a disadvantage because he likes to fight at close range. And for me, who likes to be in a flanking position, chances are Frayne is going to meet me head on, or Koala is going to try to meet me head on. And that's not going to benefit me. So I think there's just some places as a community where we just concede that will never be the way that we want it, and that's just the way it's going to have to be because other people enjoy the game that way. and the fact that some people will still stick to that rigidity frustrates me. But I think it's just something that as a community we just have to get over. We quite literally just have to get over ourselves and move from certain issues. Other issues like repair costs, etc., we can discuss, and this is one of the perfect places to do that in a podcast.
Yeah, it's like the whole reason it's here to a nice friendly discussion. I grab X amount of content creators or X amount of community members and then X amount of staff or something, and then we just throw them together and we go from there.
I think it's a good idea.
Whether it be super serious
it's a
or
very
just,
good idea.
whether it's super serious or just really chill. Like the last one I had Mike Goes Boom, I had Sauber, and I had Keith, who's the head CM, or one of the head CMs. And, you know, it was really fun. We were hanging out. We were playing the Sherman Firefly. We played some choppers. We played some ships. It's going up on YouTube whenever I get around to ripping it off Twitch, and, you know. You know, it was really relaxing, and looking forward to doing more of it down the line.
Terribly sorry for my short disappearance.
It's okay, because I am going to end the podcast here with being, you know, almost 3 hours long. My internet takes it fucking long enough to upload an hour and a half.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, but thanks for dropping by, guys. I think...
No worries.
It's been really good. I hope we do another one of these.
Oh, definitely. Like I said to everybody that comes on, you know, you're welcome back. I just
As I say, rotate the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, just match us up with like Fly or, you know, someone different every time.
The plan is next week I have the entire of like Fly's moderation team, which is me, Convict, Daska, Refraction, all these mod guys that are modding for Fly for whether it be the last couple of months or like me the past year or so. And then the week after that, we've got many miles away Keith and Hippie Hunter, who we're all gonna play ships together and that stuff there. And after that, it's all, you know, it's free real estate after that. And
up in there. I love that. I love that phrase. I love it.
Free real estate. But yeah, you know, it's always good. Like, I'm gonna be mixing things up. I have plans to get Stoner and likes of Orson and, you know, community managers and whatnot on here when they
Holy
when they're not
that
busy.
would be interesting.
But yeah, I do have Keith's go ahead for doing that whenever he gets back from vacation. That'll be a fun one.
They all take a vacation around now, don't they? All the Gaijin staff for some reason.
There's a lot of vacations.
It's always like around now where it's like the most, you know, it's always end of year when you need to pump out the most content because you get the most view per like. Because everyone's on holidays or it's ending near the end of the year and everyone's like, oh, what to do? Oh.
It's in a shit position for me because it's between assessment periods. So for me, all my exams are starting in a few weeks, and my like major assessment period where I have all these assignments to submit was just last week or 2 weeks ago. And this week is when they're all on holiday and I need them.
It's like, hey, I need this, and this. Sorry, we're on holiday right now.
Yeah.
Please call within our usual business hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll definitely call upon you when the time comes for more podcasty things. I think after not next week, the week after next week. It's sometime in November, I'll put it that way. I'm gonna try and book Fly again, and maybe if he's available, I'll try and see about Bo.
It'd be interesting to kind of rotate the cast, you know, have like the European Canadian and Slickby.
Yeah.
Like that'd be an interesting dynamic there.
You know, I do as much rotating as I can. Like, Elite's been on once before. He's actually the first returning member, but he hasn't been on since the first podcast, which was Miles, Fly, Nomad, him, and me. So, you know. Yeah, I'm rotating them around and I'm making interesting ones. I definitely want to, I'm gonna fucking... Oh, what's the word? I'm basically just gonna post about the one, whatever one Stoner's in, I'm just gonna fucking be like, hey, Stoner's gonna be in this, come watch it.
Oh yeah.
We know what the community's like with Stoner. Hopefully they'll,
500 viewers.
Yeah, hopefully they'll behave when he's there. I'd like to.
Maybe you'll say something in a line like Sean did. Oof.
What do you want us to do?
Well,
Give
I
you a
shouldn't
free
be
Abrams?
saying that. Garzan already has a target on me already.
Yeah.
I've played with Sean a bit, and he's very he's also quite passionate, which is it's quite entertaining to play with Sean.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's got a good heart. Sometimes he says some stupid shit. You know, we already know that.
I mean,
I was
when
gonna say,
Yeah, well.
just because you said one dumb thing one time doesn't mean you're a bad person. I think we can
Yeah.
all
Of
agree
course.
on that.
Freo.
you know, fucking
It'll never leave him, but he's just got to embrace the meme now.
yeah.
He's just got to
Everyone,
embrace it.
everyone seems to remember Free Abrams, but where's my Free Apache?
Where's my free Type 90?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be an Abrams? What if I want a free Challenger?
Oh, he's such a weird.
Why the fuck?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
not love yourself?
I just, you know, it saves me grinding out painfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for dropping by, Noel. Oh yeah, disclaimer. Whenever this goes up on YouTube, I'm gonna have to plug whatever links you guys want, so just send me everything you want to plug, and I'll get around to that whenever.
Sweet.
Are you sure about that?
Well, you know, YouTube, Twitter, MySpace, fucking ZincView, Hubbo,
MySpace.
Nice.
whatever floats your boat, just send it
Right,
my
I
way.
have a MySpace account specifically for this. Let me go find it.
The Scottish Koala on MySpace. What the fuck?
Yeah, we've all got that one common friend, eh? His name's Tom, yeah.
That's kind of the trade-off, you know. I take away a few hours of your life, but I get to, or you get to throw links at me, and I have to post them.
Exposure.
Yeah,
Get Gaijin's official channel on board with this, because these as a series could be so cool.
I've been, you know, if you know, put in a word for me, let them know, you know,
Go and slap Smin in the face.
you know,
Yo, get
like,
these on the channel.
you know, and I don't know if they would stick with Thundercast though. Like, you know, I want to keep it members of the community. Or not necessarily members of the community, but you know, introductions, like introducing War Thunder's content creators and
It'd be like
introducing War Thunder
Like
stuff.
another weekly show.
Yeah.
Like War Thunder's got their 2 weekly shows, and it could be like this is another one, like a hello to this content creator and hello to that content creator. Maybe we can have 2 or 3 at a time. Like you know, it'd be a
Why
cool
don't they
series.
just do it as a community spotlight?
Yeah.
Like what they used to
Yeah.
the Squire's top 5 epic
It's-
plays, which is where I found Squire from and where I found the War Thunder YouTube community from, to be honest.
It'd be like that. Like
That's where I found Mike from, actually.
I could go hang out with like Freyan and you know some other smaller YouTuber, and then maybe have like fucking Fly in or something, and we all just hang out, play a few games of War Thunder, do some editing, flick it up on the War Thunder official channel, and boom! Everybody that watches the War Thunder official channel now knows of these YouTubers, and they can go check them out if they like them or if they enjoy them. They can stick around.
They
Subscribe,
could also
blah,
just
blah.
host it as well.
Yeah.
They could also just drop you a host.
And you know,
Yeah.
it helps the War Thunder content creator community with, you know, these people might not know of these people, you know, they might be really funny. Like Freyan, for example, I know when Fly hosted him, because it was Convict and Mai's kind of like, host Freyan, damn it, he's so cool, and everybody that dropped in was like, oh hey, this guy's actually pretty cool, I'm gonna stick around, and I think at the end of that frame, Freyan had something like 70 or 80 viewers by the end of it.
When Fly gives you a host and you have a heart attack.
Oh man, you should see some. You should see.
I had Mike host me one time with about 600 viewers. I was like, what?
There's a clip of Swede being hosted by Fly for like 400 viewers, and he
I have that.
absolutely loses his.
Oh man!
Oh my god!
He stands up,
Dude.
starts shouting, and does all this other shit. It was hilarious.
I fucking it's so good.
I'm pretty sure
It's
there's
just
2
too-
of them where he's doing that, but oh, they were great. I wasn't there for them, sadly, but you know, I still got them. I've got like 1,000 on my Switch. I'll end the stream there. Because, you know, otherwise we're gonna keep on talking, and I'm never gonna get to have my lasagna dinner that's been...
Yeah, I got
So-
food too, so I'll catch you lads.
I've also
in the
got
next one.
lasagna.
Thanks for dropping by.
Hey, that's my line, Koala.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Crash with Ash, and goodbye.
Hey, it brings an element of real, like reality to the people. You know, it's good to have like a